Chapter 21, CH20, the Tetrix E3, controlling the minisub to go down. He threw out the unconscious Jonah before he himself exited it. He turned to see the group walking towards them, but didn't see the two mercenaries anywhere. Where are the chatty ones? He asked. Doc frowned, used a flashbang to blind us when we weren't paying attention and took a run for it. Overdrive didn't sweat about it, it's all right. It seems like they weren't part of the actual poaching, so I don't care. Checking for any danger, he untransformed when there wasn't any. I'm plenty satisfied now that we got the mastermind. Actually, now that I remember, I can't just let this guy go to jail without getting some punishment. Going to jail isn't punishment already? Ben asked, earning a glare from Alistair. Ben, a mother was about to lose her children because this guy was too greedy for money. Believe me, rotting in jail still wouldn't be enough. He pointed at the Kraken calmly waiting. She gave a gentle growl in appreciation. Smiling at her, he gently tapped the glass containing her eggs. And here are you children, miss. Just let me help you with getting them out. Transforming into Centimane's forearms 4 extra efficiency, he opened the container and held up the eggs. Here you go. Just be careful. While Ben felt a bit sour at him transforming into his aliens, the Kraken gently took the eggs with her tentacles before nodding at him in gratitude and diving into the water. And that's another mother satisfied. He chuckled mischievously before setting his eyes on the passed-out Jonah. Now as for you, transforming into paracosm, pesky dust, he grinned evilly, I'll make sure that you receive a suitable punishment. I promise you that. A/N, fun fact, paracosm means a very detailed imaginary world. Suits this alien to AT right. Waving his hand gently, a red dust flowed from the fairy's hand and towards Jonah. Nothing happened, but they couldn't trust their eyes when Paracosm's smile widened. Good. Make sure you reflect. Because you're stuck that way or the rest of your trashy life. What way? Coma for life, nightmare all round. Ew, what did you do? Ben asked, having a bad feeling knowing his pal. His worry simply grew when he giggled evilly, flying beside his head and patting it. Don't worry your little head, Benji. It's nothing for you to worry about, From the corner of his eye he saw something interesting. Something very interesting. Extremely interesting. Especially interesting. Exceptionally interesting. Tremendously interesting. So much so that his eyes widened in shock and his mouth turned into a giant smile at the realization. He saw the Galvan infectoid piece of him that was torn thanks to Jonah. The fact that it had remained even after he transformed was already surprising. But what was more surprising was the fact that it was approaching the mechanical arm of the minisub that he had cut off. Without hesitation he flew towards it, watching it intently as it crawled to its goal. To its food. The others exchanged glances before shrugging and deciding not to bother him. They chose to tie up the criminals and call the police instead. With Paracosm he transformed back and Alistair squatted down to focus entirely on the black and orange slime. Slime that when finally reached the torn machine it began to envelope it. Devour it. But it was slow. Very much so. And Alistair, impatient, was annoyed with waiting. When his concentration on the slime was broken, he sensed the world around him that he had ignored. Along with something else that he had ignored. A link. A mental link. One that he sensed led right back to the piece of him that was torn away. His eyes widened and his grin returned. Focusing entirely on the slime, on what he wanted it to do rather than waiting to see what it wanted to do, he tried to take control of it. And he succeeded. He had Zack to thank. He already knew how to control and influence others. In fact, he knew exactly how to do it best because of the complete knowledge and methods the Nemetrix implanted in his brain. So when he tried to control a part of him that was detached, he succeeded after barely trying. Which was weird, because it seriously didn't even take any effort. But he didn't care. Once he took control, the slime instantly devoured the entire arm. After that it just laid there. Motionless as if waiting for something to move it. Containing his excitement, mentally controlling it, the command it received led to it transforming into the arm it had just absorbed. And with another mental command it returned to being an alien blob. Cute, but about to become extremely deadly. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Alistair chanted excitedly. Looking around, his eyes landed on the mini-sub. Picking up the slime carefully, he walked hurriedly to the mini-sub. Alistair, what's wrong? Max asked, getting everybody's attention but the Noirettes. He was too focused in his own world to perceive the one around him. Worried and interested, they watched what he was doing curiously. Alistair gulped nervously. His excitement through the roof. He moved it with shaky hands and placed it on the mini-sub before he commanded it to act. Instantly, not even taking 3 seconds, the entire thing was enveloped before disappearing into the slime, causing everybody's eyes to widen. Oh wait, did you just see that? Zach rubbed his eyes, Fisk doing so as well, and plus $. But Drew's eyes widened. The conversation they had a while ago appeared in her mind. Oh boy. Taking a deep breath to calm down, failing completely, he ordered the slime once again. And this time it turned into the mini-sub. Not the damaged state that it was previously in, no, but the completely unharmed version. As if it was brand new, but just in black and orange. Now not just Drew, but others who had listened to him got the gist of what was going through his head too. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. He chuckled dumbly, a massive smile on his face. With a simple thought, he had the slim return back to normal before he started running. But just as he was about to transform, his eyes landed on the high-tech weapon on the ground. The one that Van Rook had used on him. He stopped, let the slime absorb the weapon, then rushed inside of the cannery while everybody watched him. He ignored them all though. He simply went inside, had the slime absorb everything, then came out. With an advanced and expensive-looking laptop in hand. Alistair hated this Jonah poacher bastard, but he was beginning to seriously like his technology. I'll see you guys back at the rust bucket. He shouted, at least announcing his departure, before transforming into Mant Astral and flying away quickly. Looking at each other, Zach spoke up, I'm not trying to sound like a jerk, but is it a good thing that he probably got a very big clue in creating the device he had in mind? Yeah, probably. Ben pursed his lips, maybe. Drew sighed, we can only hope so. Earning a confused look from her husband, what device? What are you guys talking about? Oh right, you weren't there. The MILF said and started explaining the plans of the sinister kiddo. A while later, after the police had arrived and arrested all the criminals, they all returned. Anxious but curious to see what Alistair was up to. And when they arrived, they saw the good old little technology demon, Tinkerer, jury-rig. He was behind the laptop that he had stolen and had improved into a supercomputer and was using it to control the car-sized device in front of him. The device with the galvanic infectoid inside, which was being worked on with lasers and such. Alistair? Gwen called out, but earned a hush, quiet. I'm trying to concentrate here. When she silenced herself, looking at others, they all shrugged and walked to sit somewhere and watch. Seriously, Alistair loved Tinkerer and was thankful every second of the day for having him. Sure, Brainiac and Brainstation were awesome, but Tinkerer was all about action. He didn't think, he didn't plan, he didn't formulate. He simply did everything the moment he needed to. The fact that he had super speed if technology was involved made Alistair love him all the more. When he wanted a supercomputer to control highly advanced machinery, he made it in seconds. When he needed highly advanced machinery, he made it in seconds. He simply needed to have a goal, an idea, and his body would move instinctively. He loved it. And now, after literally making all the equipment he needed from scrap, in less than a minute at that, he had started to work on the slime. But before everything, he had confirmed one very, very important fact. The slime wasn't alive, neither did it have intelligence. Before, when it was moving by itself, he had found out that it was something like a part of a snake being cut off. Even after a snake's literal head is cut off, both the head and the body can still move around and act as if they're alive. The same was with the piece that had been torn from him. Even though it moved like it was alive, it was still dying. Even if it had absorbed technology, it still would have died. What it was doing was actually searching for the main body. Reattaching itself was the only way for it to stay alive. So it moved around trying to find Alistair to return to. And once Alistair took control of it, he hadn't just taken over its mind. No, he was literally controlling his own body. Explained why it felt so easy. So right. So once Alistair had figured that out and made sure that was the case and not that the slime was actually alive, he had begun making his device. He had been working on it for quite a while already. While the two families were working on tying up some useless idiots, he was working on creating one of the greatest weapons in the world. A weapon that could store and function like any absorbed technology. Even the Annihilarg. Minutes passed like seconds. His eyes glued to the computer screen and the slime under the special laser. And after a few hours of having his undivided attention and complete concentration on the project at hand, so much so that he hadn't noticed the two families were eating dinner meters away from him, his efforts proved to bear fruit. Once the sizzling sound of the laser that had been going on for hours stopped, Ben looked up from the food in his dish. Did he finish? Catching everybody's attention. The sizzling sound had become a background noise that they had ignored. So when it stopped, they didn't even notice. But when Ben pointed it out, they all stopped talking and turned their attention to the machine and Alistair. Transforming back, he walked towards the finishing device with heavy steps. Anxiety and excitement burning his heart from the inside out. Looking at the black and orange cube, he couldn't help but gulp down heavily. As he reached out, the cube seemed to listen to his thoughts. It slowly deformed into liquid and began to crawl up his right hand, before circling around his wrist and turning into a black and orange bracelet. The silence was deafening. Nobody said anything, simply waited for Alistair to say something. But he didn't mutter a word. He simply took on a nonchalant smile, eyes closed, and didn't even look at the others as he opened the rust bucket's door. Please excuse me for a moment. What's with him? Ben started, but was interrupted by a loud shriek that came from the inside of the rust bucket. YHHH. Chapter 22, CH21, Permanent Retirement, E4. What do you have that's non-fat with less than 3% sugar? In the middle of a desert or something, Gwen asked the store owner while looking at the ice creams with Alistair and Ben. Earning a look from the two for her very specific request when it was just ice cream. And napkins, said the old store owner grumpily at that before turning to the boys. What do you want, kids? Just as Ben was about to answer, Alistair felt a tingling sensation in the back of his head before the sound of metal clanking outside came. Turning, they saw a fat man along with the goofiest robber, skinny as shit with bunny teeth, that Alistair had seen trying to rob an ATM. I'm about to go Rocky Road. Ben smirked, running outside. Alistair didn't accompany him. No need to, since they were only two idiots. Instead, he set his eyes on the different flavors, but beautiful nonetheless, of ice creams. He licked his teeth. Ice cream would really hit the spot in such hot weather. 2 chocolate ice creams, sir. He didn't forget to order for Ben. Walking out with 2 ice creams in hand, he saw the robbers already dealt with and restrained with chains. Probably used XLR8 to deal with them quickly before transforming back. Man, was master control awesome. Good work, Ben. Max smirked at his grandson, who smirked smugly after grabbing the ice cream Alistair handed to him. Oh yeah. I'm ready for anything. Bring it on. What's next? We're heading off to see your Aunt Vera for the weekend. Max smiled. Ben didn't share his enthusiasm though. Boring old Aunt Vera? No. Biting into his ice cream, fucking demon, Alistair walked to the robber's truck and absorbed it into his tetrix. You wanna rob, you'll get robbed, bitch. So it's that episode, huh? Man, I remember how creepy this episode was when I was a kid. In fact, Ben 10 had a knack for creepy and scary episodes. Ugh, remembering the first time Ghost Freak gained consciousness still sends shivers down my spine. That one-eyed, twisted-face bastard was the embodiment of all 2,000 kids' paralysis demons. When Aunt Vera said she wanted to move away from it all, she really meant it. Gwen said, cleaning the dishes. Ben still looked bored by the idea. Oh man. This summer was supposed to be about fun, not hanging out in some old lady's place. I like Aunt Vera. Gwen smiled, earning frown from her cousin. Duh. That's because you act like you're 100 years old. Sitting across from Ben, Alistair was sorting out some special cards. So what's wrong with this Aunt Vera that you're so bothered by? Do you dislike her or something? Is she weird? No, it's not like I hate her. Ben groaned, leaning on his palm. It's just that she's so boring. Mumbling and God forbid her cooking. Jesus Christ, I remember her cooking being the same as Grandpa. At the mention of the elderly Tennysons, Gwen's enthusiasm left her somewhat. Alistair chuckled, well, so far so good in my books. As long as she's not some grumpy old lady who complains about everything, I'm chill with her. Of course you would be. Ben rolled his eyes. Sighing, he looked out of the window at the barren land. Looking up from his device, Alistair noticed Ben's weirdness. What's with you? He raised an eyebrow, but Ben simply mumbled, it's nothing. But Alistair figured it out right away. Bored, lonely eyes staring out the window, seeming to be missing something. Or someone specifically. He smirked, speaking quietly, somebody's lovesick. No, I'm not. He shouted, earning a teasing smirk, yes, you are. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. No, you're not. Yes, I am. Wait, damn it. The Noirette snickered, putting down his cards and leaning on the table. What, missing your first crush? Shut up. Ha 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 ha, I'll take that as a yes. You do know she's married, right? And that she has a kid? Aha, yeah, that's the annoying part. Tell me about it. You meet your first crush and forget about having a boyfriend, she's already married and has a kid. Yeah, talk about being unlucky. Smiling in amusement, Alistair got up and sat beside him, patting his shoulder. It's all right, Ben. That's how life is. You win some, you lose some. There are plenty of fishes in the sea, so don't beat yourself up about it. What do you know about life? You know less than me, you have amnesia, dude. Ben side-eyed him. Glaring playfully, Alistair ruffled his head forcefully. Wow, insensitive much? And what does not having any memories have to do with this? I'm still smarter than you. Ugh, stop that. He got his head away, fixing his messed up hair with a frown. What, so you're not even mildly sad they went away? Don't tell me you didn't have even a little bit of a crush on Mrs. Saturday, because I won't believe you. Of course I did. Bro, she's drop-dead gorgeous. I would question my sexuality if I didn't find her attractive. But you see, you just have to give up sometimes. I mean, dude, she has a family and we're literally children the same age as her kid. Fair enough. Come on, cheer up, dude. Don't worry, I'm sure you'll score a baddie in the future. I mean, Ben was compared to Spider-Man in terms of getting bitches. I just have to make sure he'll end up with an actually good girl instead of that toxic bitch Kai who's into bestially. God, it pissed me off when he ended up with her. All right, what are you two whispering about? Gwen said, sitting in front of them. Alistair shrugged, nothing, just boys talk. Winking at Ben. He wasn't going to give Gwen the chance to tease his pal. And Ben appreciated it, nodding in acknowledgement. Is that so? She narrowed her eyes, but he simply picked up his cards. That is so. Seeing she won't be getting anything out of it and simply got a smirk from Ben, she rolled her eyes. Gwen leaned on her palm, looking at the cards splattered around on the table. So what are these cards anyway? Don't tell me Ben corrupted you into being obsessed with sumo slammer cards. Hey, sumo slammer cards are awesome. Ben glared, offended. Alistair smirked. Nah, don't worry. I don't have bad taste. These are the cards of the game I've gotten interested in. And again, causing Ben to glare, dude. Oh, a game that pulled your attention away from your tetrix? What's the game's name? Gwen grew curious and Alistair showed the cards he was putting together. Yu-Gi-Oh! Even if he was in another world, his spirit of a duelist wouldn't die. This is gonna be so boring. Ben whimpered at the sight of elderly people everywhere after driving into the city. Their idea of excitement in this place is probably watching the grass grow. Frowning to himself in boredom, his eyes widened when an old man jumped and flipped in the air when he missed his step and came sliding down the rooftop. Oh! Did you see that? Alistair and Gwen, who were on their own computers, looked outside to see nothing except normal elderly. See what? Gwen looked up from her laptop. The heat must be frying that pea-sized brain of yours. No, there's something weird here. Alistair looked up from his supercomputer laptop, taking off his earphones he was using to watch Yu-Gi-Oh! In peace and speaking loud enough for Max to hear as well. I can smell it in the air. My senses are telling me something's going on here. We better be careful. What? Something weird going on here? Max frowned. Are you sure, Al? Earning a smirk. Were we wrong with the Kraken, Grandpa Max, or not? Ben nodded beside him. Yeah. You two didn't believe me then either. But in the end, what happened? Well. Max coughed awkwardly. All right, we'll be careful then. Gwen, you don't ignore the boy's warning either. We better be careful. Especially since Alistair said he senses something. I don't know how, but it seems like his sense of danger has been getting sharper gradually. Better safe than sorry, you know? Oh well, all right, Grandpa. Gwen nodded, receiving a smile from the Noirette. Thanks for listening. I'm telling everybody to be careful so nothing bad will happen to us, that's all. Himself receiving a smile from Max. I know, son. And we're thankful, that's why we'll listen. Isn't that right, kids? Aha, as if I would ignore my best pal's words. Ben slapped Alistair's back with a big grin. Gwen nodded behind her laptop, a small blush on her face that Alistair ignored. Yeah, thanks, Al. I'll be careful too. But what could be going on here? Max frowned. There's nothing here except elderly people. What could be dangerous here? Ben folded his arms, leaning back with a smirk, snickering. Who knows, maybe there's going to be an alien invasion or something. Man, the jinxing here is phenomenal. And nonetheless, be careful. Max reminded. After a bit of driving, they finally came to a stop. Alistair walked out with Ben, who was already frowning while covering his face from the intense heat of the sun. Seriously, why do old people have to live where it's so hot? Behind them, Gwen came out with an evil grin, hiding something behind her. Suddenly, the same feeling of tingling in his head came, and he unconsciously dodged to the side, dodging the water shot of Gwen's water gun. Hey! Ben wasn't so lucky. His neck and shirt got wet and Gwen ran off before he could say anything. Alistair glared at her though. Don't make me freeze you, Gwen. But she ignored him while laughing. Huffing, he looked down at himself. Am turning to Spider-Man? Now I've got spider sense or something. Not that I'm arguing though. Just as he thought so, the same feeling was triggered again. Looking up, he saw an elderly man glaring at them. His mouth opened to a freakish degree as he hissed before twisting his neck to impossible degrees, making it crack all over before he closed the curtains. Aha, they really make you feel welcome here. Ben said from beside him. But Alistair caught his attention by tapping his shoulder, then pointing at his Nemetrix. Unidentified DNA detected, proceeding to scanning. New alien and predator DNA unlocked. Limax, polymorph, goop, and Viscosian shurkas. Viscosian shurkas description, predator of both the Limax and polymorph species. This species has cryokinesis and is able to release very low temperature freezing gas from its body, mainly its hands, that freeze its prey. It then shatters the ice statue and eats it. The ice parts thaw in its stomach and begin to dissolve. Ben's eyes widened in shock before frowning at Alistair. They nodded at each meaningfully before Max warned with a smile, just watch your cheeks. Fas a pincha. Max. Vera. An old but healthy lady walked out, arms spread as the siblings shared a hug. Alistair smiled at the scene. Old people could be so wholesome and heartwarming. As the two stopped hugging, Vera smiled at the children. I can't believe you're finally here. She hugged Gwen, who rudely didn't return it, and look at you too. She pinched Gwen's cheeks, shaking her head fondly, so grown up. As she let go, Gwen groaned in pain before Vera hugged Ben and did the same. With Ben not returning the hug either. Seriously, did they not know how precious hugs were? Ow! Ben groaned at the ache of his cheeks, before Vera noticed and smiled at Alistair. And who might you be, young man? Smiling awkwardly, Max tried to explain. Actually, Alistair here is a friend of Ben. He joined us on this trip when Ben asked if he wanted to come. Right, Ben? Yeah. Ben quickly smiled. Couldn't leave my buddy to feel lonely while I enjoy all the fun. Smiling politely, Alistair greeted. Hello, Mrs. Tennyson. My name is Alistair Aliyev from Russia. It's a pleasure to meet you. Chapter 23, ch 22, I'm broke, E4. Oh my, such a polite little gentleman. And so handsome too. Vera smiled brightly, hugging and pinching his cheeks too. Unlike some people, he returned the hug, and even though it did sting a bit, he didn't say anything. I'm glad you found a good friend, Ben. She smiled at Ben. Remember, the friends determine a lot of things. How you act and your growth are some of them. So it's important to find good friends. And thankfully you seem to have that covered. Alright, I shouldn't keep you guys out in the heat anymore. Come. I can't wait to chew the fat with all of you. What about the alien oldie there? Ben walked back, whispering to Alistair, who hummed, gotta be a bit patient. Let's wait till your Aunt Vera is asleep, then we'll deal with them. The sooner we deal with this, the better. A/N, aka this FIC isn't going to follow every episode step by step like how most fics do, which ruins the story. Ben nodded, before Gwen walked beside him, smirking. Olive? Did you just come up with that or something? He shrugged with a smile. After studying myself a bit, with actual equipment, I found out that I'm genetically Russian. Pretty cool, right? And no, I didn't just come up with it. It would be weird if I didn't have a last name, so I looked into the internet and found a simple one that was similar to my name. Oh well, however you're happy. Ben patted his back, frowning as he smelled the air when they walked into the cozy house. Ugh. Why do old people's houses always smell like somebody's cooking socks or something? Causing Alistair to pinch his side sneakily, making him wince. Be nice, Benji. He gritted out with a whisper, even though he wholeheartedly agreed. Oh Vera, this is delicious. Sitting around a table, Max commented on the orange jello with weird pieces inside. Now what are these brown chunks in the mold? Pork chops. And the white parts are cauliflower. She smiled, but Ben and Gwen's appetite immediately disappeared when they heard her. Not Alistair though. He was still enjoying the food. In fact, he appreciated even more meat in his food. He couldn't know if he was happy or not about his taste buds changing so much because of the Nemetrix though. So instead of thinking about it, he decided to eat instead. Eating always takes your mind off of the problems. Him actually eating Vera's food did earn him disgusted looks from the cousins though. Vera turned to Ben. So Ben, what have you been doing so far this summer? And Ben answered, dead serious, dealing with alien life forms with Alistair. Earning a chuckle from Vera. Oh you. Why don't you say you met God while you're at it, genius? Spotting Vera's collection of stuffed birds on the shelf, Gwen went to take a look. And while Vera's attention was occupied, Ben threw his piece of jello into Alistair's nearly finished dish. I am totally stuffed. Whatever, I was going to have seconds anyway. Alistair indulged into the dessert. Seeing him enjoying her food, Vera smiled as she walked up with a bowl full of candy. Alistair, please eat as much as you want. I'm happy to see you enjoying my special snack. Mouthful, the Noirette simply gave a thumbs up. Hey, he might be crazy and an asshole, but he wasn't impolite. Professionals have standards. And one of them was keeping up manners, like not talking with your mouth full. Ben, would you like some candy? She held up the bowl for Ben, who smiled. Now we're talking. But the moment he threw it into his mouth, he froze in place before spitting it into his hand. Ugh. Coffee as candy? Is this some kind of joke? Before taking off towards the bathroom, I need to use the bathroom. Why so dramatic? Coffee candy is delicious. Or maybe it's just me since I like dark/bitter chocolate and the like. Alistair raised an eyebrow before smiling at Vera. Can I have a few, Mrs. Tennyson? She smiled brightly. Oh, please eat as much as you want, young man. Before putting the entire bowl in front of him. Alistair honestly felt bad for her, poor lady. She probably doesn't get to meet relatives here at all. She's so obviously excited, but Ben is being such a jerk. Don't worry, Mrs. Tennyson. Since you've treated me so well, I'll have a talk with Ben about manners later. Specifically, I'll let Menace have a talk with him. Just as he was busy with his thoughts and the beat ahem conversations he was going to have with Ben, the tingling sensation in his head returned. He frowned when he didn't see anything, but calmed down when he realized, oh right, this was the first appearance of Ghost Freak. With many premium ones to come. Ugh. And Ben left. Seriously, such a bitch move. Alistair felt so bad when he saw the elderly woman get sad about it. He had a soft spot for kind old people. But well, she didn't stay sad for long. Literally because she went to bed at 6. Which to be honest amazed him, who couldn't sleep until past midnight. And that was the earliest hours he would sleep at. The internet needed him far too much for him to leave it alone. He was a hero for not just the people, but also for the internet. Hey, wait a minute. Laying down on the couch nonchalantly, his eyes sprung open. Why don't I actually become a hero for the internet? I can still remember that weird episode where they made a lame cartoon of Ben's transformations. Heat blast, forearms and wildmutt specifically if I remember right. So since some assholes could make money from just a lame-ass cartoon, why shouldn't I do it first myself so they wouldn't be able to rip off of us? Oh my god, this is a brilliant plan. Money was always on my mind as a huge issue. After all, I'm not going to always stick with Grandpa Max. And even if I did, I'm not going to mooch off his kindness. Honestly, literally making money, as in actually making money, would be hella easy since I can just make a money-making machine. But that's illegal. And my antihero acts stop at killing people who deserve it. I'm not going to commit crimes. And besides, this idea sounds so much more fun than that. Seriously, I can make my own show. My own cartoon. Wait, no, why should I stop at cartoons? I can make a machine that will instantly turn the shows I make into cartoons. That way, kids and people who don't like cartoons can watch it at the same time. Oh my god, this is actually genius. I can make a machine that will instantly turn the shows I make into cartoons. That way, kids and people who don't like cartoons can watch it at the same time. Oh my god, this is actually genius. I can make a channel in YouTube or something and post the episodes of what we actually do on there while masking it as a cartoon/movie. Wait, but YouTube isn't even made yet. Oh well, I'll just make it myself. We'll even add the shorts function and everything. This is one of the best ideas I've ever had if I exclude the tetrix. I'm going to make Ben 10 inside of Ben 10. Oh, the irony. Haha. Wait, hold on, I can't name it Ben 10 if I'm the main character and Ben is my partner. What to do here? What should I name the show? Chimera as in a fusion of many beasts? Hydra? Nah, I'm not a dragon and I definitely don't have just 9 heads. Let's name it Predator and Savior. Hey guys. Suddenly Ben ran inside, looking shocked. But not as shocked as he was when Alistair suddenly pounced on him, grabbing him by the shoulders. Ben, I've got the best idea ever. You're going to love it. Huh? He answered dumbly before Max hushed them. Yes. Quiet, Vera is in bed. Earning a weirded out look from Ben. Seriously? It's like only 6:30. Never mind. Listen but was interrupted by a grinning Alistair who whisper-shouted, never mind you, hear me out. Oh whoa Al, that's... Ben looked baffled, before grinning widely, so freaking awesome. So you want to make a movie about us and what we do? Thankfully, Alistair had used the tetrix to activate the ability of a device he had absorbed into it. Which basically didn't let any sound go outside of wherever he chose. Best way to stay up past bedtime. He didn't want to interrupt Vera's sleep after all. I've gotta admit, it is a pretty good idea. Max smiled, pinching his chin thoughtfully, and since basically nothing is dangerous to you two since you've unlocked the full potential of the watches, I don't think it can be that risky. Especially since you're masking it. The idea is honestly pretty good. Is it? Gwen, not a fan of action, sci-fi or fantasy probably, looked unsure. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to be negative here. It's just, do you actually think the idea of 2 kids turning into different aliens would be popular? Oh, the irony. Gwen, you're not going to believe this, but... Oh, what are you talking about, dweeb? Of course this idea would sell. Ben smiled brightly. Why do you think superheroes are so popular? It's because of awesome action and superpowers. And we're basically a bunch of superheroes mashed into one. Why wouldn't that sell? Ben's right, Gwen. Max nodded in agreement, smiling. I'm pretty sure I would sit down every weekend and wait for that kind of a show to start on the TV if I was a kid of your age. Oh well, I guess boys would love that. Gwen shrugged, but how are you going to do this? Are you just going to keep a camera strapped onto you every time a villain shows up? And what about what has already happened? Are you going to skip those? Smirking, Alistair raised his right hand. Pandora's box, remember? The name he had given to the tetrix. I can simply create the best camera in the world and take it from there. And as you know, I treat this the same way as I treat the watch. It doesn't come off even when I sleep. And 2, I'll just make a device that can go through our memories, then I'll make a video of what's shown up in our heads. As simple as that. She looked at him weird. Yeah, I don't think our definition of simple is exactly the same, Al. But Ben didn't care. Oh, who cares how he's going to do it? Why do you even bother with things that Brainiac and BrainStation will come up with? All that's important is the outcome. And I can't wait for it. Thinking of something, Alistair hummed thoughtfully. Hey, Ben? If I'm right, you should have burst in because of getting something about our unwelcome alien friends in here, right? Ben's eyes widened in realization. That's right, I completely forgot. You're not going to believe what I just saw. Alright, bet. Alistair smirked, eliciting a snicker. Ben, all right, fair enough. And so he began to explain what he saw. Going from seeing a grandma stick to the ceiling to eat a fly and then tailing the grumpy grandpa next door to a secret hideout, where he saw numerous unconscious people inside of weird green pods. Max frowned as he finished. Who would have thought all these people would be kidnapped and replaced by aliens? Wait, what about Vera? Was she among them? His eyes widened in worry, but Ben shook his head. I checked everywhere, but I didn't see Aunt Vera. I think they haven't gotten everybody yet. Explains why they're still around. Alistair hummed before smirking, and that works the best for us. And our little idea. Chapter 24, CH23, Dealing with the Invaders, E4. Dear friend across the river / my hands are cold and bare. Walking in the creepily quiet roads, Alistair hummed a song to the Tennysons and himself. Dear friend across the river / I'll take what you can spare. Hiss. He heard the quiet hissing from a few elderly, but pretended to not hear them. I ask of you a penny / my fortune it will be. Glancing back, Gwen saw old people suddenly beginning to follow them. She whispered, Yeah, boys? Are you planning to do something soon? I ask you without envy / we raise no mighty towers. Alistair hummed lightly, earning a slightly worried look from Ben. Our homes are built of stone / so come across the river. Isha. The aliens revealed their true colors, hissing loudly as they teamed up and threw a car at the group. Kids, watch out. Max's eyes widened, moving fast to save the children. But Alistair, humming the last tune, simply raised his right hand, and find the world below. With the sound of laser cutting through the air, a giant laser beam escaped the Tetrix as he lowered his fist, vaporizing the car instantly along with the few Limaxes who threw the car. Blowing away the smoke of the Tetrix, he cracked his neck, smirking at the shocked enemies. Well, time to kick ass and take names. Isha. They got over their shock quickly, roaring angrily as they rushed at them. Oh yeah, time to kick some alien butt. Ben smirked, excited as hell, but trying to keep his cool in front of the camera that was already rolling. Wasn't science magic so amazing? He had created a camera that could capture everything as if somebody else was filming, third-person perspective, instead of the show being first-person POV. And since it was science magic, he didn't need to explain shit. Not about how he made it or how it worked. Oh wait, Ben. Max pulled him back. We can't waste time here. We don't know what they're planning to do with the kidnapped people. Our top priority is getting those people to safety. Ben didn't want to pass on his first chance to show off in front of the camera though, but how are we gonna do that if these aliens don't let us? We need to get rid of them first. But Alistair, patting his shoulder, shook his head. No, Grandpa Max is right. Come on, I'll hold them off, you carry Grandpa Max and Gwen. Fine. Sighing reluctantly, he slapped his Omnitrix in disappointment. With a roar, Wildmud appeared. Growling at his relatives, he nodded towards his back. You're not going anywhere. A Limax shouted, rushing towards them as Alistair kept shooting them down, especially nowhere near our ship. There were a lot of them. Because of the commotion in the middle of the city, every Limax had come out to subdue them. Grar. Wildmutt, with Max and Gwen on his back, roared at Alistair, receiving a serious nod, "Go." As he started running towards the entrance he had found, the Noirette shot a charged laser beam, vaporizing the nearest Limaxes. Backing off at the closing aliens, he pressed his Nemetrix with a smirk, "Winter." He spread his wings menacingly, causing them to back off in fear, a necrophrygian. How? But he looked different than all the times he had turned into Winter. He was clad in cloth-like armor. Like a suit of armor that didn't stand out like armor and only served as clothes. But the black semi-skin-tight armor with orange lines was anything but just clothing. Another fact that Alistair loved about Tetrix was that it could assist him even in his transformations. In default, it was a suit of extremely durable armor. But turning into weapons, guns, lasers, you name it, was nothing to even mention. Feeling and reveling in the drip, Winter breathed ice, freezing the nearby Limaxes who weren't quick to dodge or escape. Bye-bye. Grinning, he waved before flying after the others. It didn't take long to catch up. He simply phased into the ground and went after the signal of the Omnitrix that the Tetrix had. Alistair. Max smiled as he made himself visible. At your service. He smiled before turning to Wildmutt. Ben, I've picked up on the signal of the ship those aliens were talking about. Follow me. Also, let me help you with the weight. Flying above him, he picked up Max and carried him. Gra. Wildmutt growled suddenly, nodding behind him. Winter hummed, did you pick their scent? Are they after us? He got his confirmation by a nod. Then we should finish this quickly, said Winter, before a green light flashed and XLR-8 appeared, carrying Gwen. Then XLR-8's your guy for the job. Smirking, a red light enveloped Winter, and so is Mant Astral. Mant Astral, also in a suit of armor, held Max by his arms with his legs with ease surprisingly, and they quickened their pace. XLR-8 looked up with mild surprise. How can you fly so easily in a place like this? This place isn't suitable for flight, right? Just about everything is possible when you're Alistair Aliyev Benji. He smirked, earning an eye roll from Ben. You've really taken a liking for that name, huh? Receiving a snicker. Seeing a blockage in the way, Mant Astral warned, I think we're just about there. Before shooting a laser beam from his eyes and destroying the blockage. With the way cleared, they entered the secret layer, cutting through the air with their speed. Looking around in surprise, especially at the spaceship, Mant Astral put Max down. God damn, look at this place. They sure were busy, huh? Tell me about it. XLR-8 nodded, putting Gwen down. Just look at how many there are here. If we had arrived any later, these aliens would have taken everybody. Boys, we don't have time to marvel at this place. Gwen reminded, frowning at the green pod holding a person inside. We need to take everybody out of here quickly. XLR-8 turned to Mant Astral, then let's take care of whoever is inside of that spaceship first. The amphibian nodded before flying towards the ship. Opening the door, they all got to bringing out whoever was inside of the ship. And that's that. Alistair smirked once he transformed back. But a voice caught their attention. No. Damn you. We won't let you get away with this. They looked to see the Limaxes had arrived. Once we get rid of you, we'll board all the food back on the ship. Food? Gwen's eyes widened. They want to eat these people? As Max frowned, Ben gagged in disgust. Don't even think that's going to happen, before slamming his Omnitrix, 'cause heat blasts bringing out the heat. He didn't even need to touch the Omnitrix, but Alistair told him it would look good in the show. A/N, he's not wrong. I honestly can't wear a watch without thinking of slamming down on it ever since I first watched Ben 10. Oh wait, Alistair was about to stop him, but Heat Blast was quick to shoot fire to burn them. The problem rose when they suddenly began to fuse under the intense heat instead. When Heat Blast stopped, the Limaxes had transformed into a hulking, giant slime monster. Whatever you are, you just made a terrible mistake. A voice said menacingly, us Limaxes live for the heat. Why do you think we came to the desert in the summer? Alistair pursed his lips. He makes a mighty good point, you know? Did you know about this? Heat Blast pointed at the giant, unamused as Alistair shrugged. Not really. I only found out these suckers are weak to the cold, not that they get stronger by the heat. Good going there, genius. Now do you know why I tell you to listen? All right, fair enough. Ben sighed tiredly, annoyed before he was smacked by the giant Limax and flew away. Ugh! He groaned as he laid on the dented ship he had smashed into. Alistair shouted, unbothered by the situation, "You all right?" Heat Blast held up a thumbs up. "Yeah, I'll just leave this guy to you. You're the icy one of us two and all." Alistair chuckled, "Then you have a good rest for now. I'll give this guy a cool reason to chill out." And pressed his Nemetrix. "Evinta," said the ghostly voice. And the Limax, feeling threatened, stepped away before glaring and swinging at him. "Trying to punch a ghost?" Winter snickered, turning invisible, intangible and freezing the hand that went through him. "Brilliant idea, mate." The Limax screamed in pain and panic, looking for any sign of the Necrophrygian. But he only found an ice breath freezing his back. Hissing in pain, it swung again and again, but to no avail. Using Winter was straight up cheating, which was why Alistair loved him. But also wanting his little friend to have the chance to shine, he went a bit easy. Ben might need a bit of help here. He was moved by his own mindset. How could someone be so considerate? Oh, he needed to treat himself to a delicious milkshake later on. A big heart needed a stomach filled with delicacies. How am I supposed to help? I don't have anything on me that can freeze. Heat Blast sat up, frowning and serious. But when he heard a sizzling sound on himself, he raised an eyebrow. Looking at his shoulder to see a mist rising after a drop of water was vaporized. He looked up to see a water pipe. That's it. His eyes, or at least their sockets, widened before shooting a fire beam at it, causing it to break and water to rain down on the giant. It roared in pain, its body starting to grow weaker and smaller at a faster rate. Once it was small enough, Winter descended before he was enveloped in a red light. Crashing into the ground, a blue alien similar to an anteater with a bulb for a stomach appeared. Frozen. He spoke through the tetrix that he could control telepathically, and which acted like armor again, shielding his vulnerable stomach among many other parts. Seeing its natural predator, the Limax was quick to try and escape in panic, even when it was extremely weakened and just about dying because of the water and ice. It seems like the hunter has become the hunted. He snickered, the tetrix conveying his thoughts in speech as ice mist escaped his palms, turning the Limax into ice before he shattered it and threw the pieces into his mouth. "And it seems like your order just had you for dinner." He snickered again at his own joke. Heat Blast looked at him with disgust. "I can't believe you just ate an alien, dude." Transforming back, Alistair rolled his eyes. He talked a lot of shit. This is the least he deserved. Stretching, he cracked a few places. "Anyway, who cares about the dead? Let's deal with what's really important." His greedy eyes landed on the ownerless spaceship, his right hand and the tetrix acting fidgety. A/N, my friends, allies and brothers of the anti-harem faction, join me in talking shit and discussing even more about how illogical harems are and what illogical things the harem-only readers say now that the chapter has come to an end. Today's subject, Urian harem, is NTR. I don't know who came up with that, but that person clearly deserved the Most Stupid Person of the Century award. Because oh my god, these people are just another level of idiot. I understand that people look into fiction for the fantasies, but damn, some people don't have any standards at all. To the point that it's actually dumb, not even funny anymore. They say, "Oh, the girls shouldn't complain that I'm too timing, why am I being stupid, it's obviously 10 to 20 timing, they should completely tolerate each other without ever arguing, and they shouldn't hold any sort of feelings towards each other." Like, I would agree with them leaving out the MC, but these people just talk about the girls having any sort of feelings towards each other beyond friendship is straight out cheating. Bro, they're literally fucking the same guy, getting fucked in the same bed, kissing each other and going even beyond if the MC is cultured enough. And nah, normal friends do that, so my harem shouldn't like each other beyond friendship either. Yet another stupid thing about harems, my brethrens. Somebody keep notes, because I don't think anybody can memorize this vast book. Chapter 25, CH-24, Limax Spaceship Acquired, E4. Cracking his fingers one-handedly, Kaneki style, he walked up to the spaceship. "All right, stand back now." Putting his palm on the green and red ship, he grinned widely as the tetrix spread onto the ship and around it abruptly, like a rampaging rabid slime. It took but a few moments for the entire ship to be covered in black and orange sleek slime before it instantly disappeared. leaving behind only the tetrix that retreated back to Alistair's wrist before a hologram appeared above it, showing what it had just devoured, the Limax spaceship. Yes. He bumped the air as Ben transformed back. Whoa, so does that mean we've got a whole spaceship for ourselves now? When he received a nod from Ben, his face stretched into a giant smile. Cool. So when are we going to take it out for a ride? And not until I've done some modifications on it. Come on. We can take it out for a short ride at least. Ben, just because it's a spaceship it doesn't mean that it's good. Come on, it looks like a giant squid. I'm not going to be seen riding that. And don't even mention how vulnerable this ship is. There's not a single weapon installed to defend it. I'll only use this thing after at least changing its design because these aliens have awful taste. Man. Ben sighed, shoulders slumping in disappointment. Smiling in amusement, Alistair slapped his back. Cheer up, dude. I didn't say I'd never take it out. And besides, do you honestly think it will take long for me to turn this oversized mechanical squid of a spaceship into one of the best, if not the best spaceships in the universe? You're talking to the creator of Pandora's box here, you know? Finding sense in his words, Ben immediately cheered up. Hey, you've got a point. Oh, I can't wait till I can drive it around. Receiving a raised, questioning eyebrow, who said you'll be allowed to drive it? What do you mean? What do you mean, Benji? I said I'll take you for a ride, not to let you ride. You're not going to let me drive it even for a little bit? And crash into some random spaceship and get us both sued for driving while underage? Yeah, not happening. Crash, what do you mean? Crash into what? If there were random spaceships just floating around, why didn't we know about the aliens until recently? And if there were, you actually think my driving would be so bad I'd crash in the vast space? Smirking believe it with my whole heart. Rolling his eyes, you're unbelievable. Shut up, Benji. Don't worry, I'll let you drive. But I get the reins and learn everything myself so that nothing bad will happen when we're literally inside of the endless void. After that we'll fool around so much we'll give every NASA worker a stroke. Yeah, that's more like it. Ben fist bumped him before looking around. And what are we supposed to do with all these people? Max hummed seriously. We should put them all back in their condos so they'll think they never left. That could take hours. Gwen slid down against one of the green eggs. Alistair and Ben smirked to each other, suddenly lighting up in their respective colors without even saying anything. And not a problem for Godspeed/XLR8. The Kinocellarians smirked smugly before blitzing away. Don't be strangers. The next day Vera hugged Max outside of her house. Max smiled. We won't. Before going to start the RV. Gwen smiled and bid farewell. Bye, Aunt Vera. Smiling back, Vera kneeled down to eye level, hugging her. Bye, dear. Her eyes moved to Ben, looking a bit sad. I'm sorry, Ben, if there wasn't enough excitement here for you. I hope you weren't bored to tears. Ben smiled. Actually, it turned out better than I thought. Making her smile, I'm glad. Well, have fun on the road. I will. He hugged her, making Alistair smile. Finally, he shows some affection. As they separated, Vera's eyes landed on him. And Alistair, I'm glad you could visit me as well. I'm glad I had so many lively guests. Don't mention it. I had a ton of fun too. And I got my first spaceship, so that's a plus. I'm glad to hear you enjoyed your stay here. Oh, and I packed this for you. She handed him a sealed-up jelly, smiling brightly. Better have a snack for the middle of the road, am I right? His face lit up at the delicious smell. You rock, Mrs. Tennyson. Thanks. Smiling sweetly, she hugged him as well. You're welcome, dear. Alistair was a bit surprised, but welcomed it happily. He had always been an affectionate person. Hugging and kissing cheeks was normal for him in his past life. So getting to hug someone was always a welcome event for him. Careful with the jello, he hugged Vera back before separating and walking back to Ben, who had waited for him to come inside. And Ben, she got their attention. Keep up the good work dealing with all those aliens you were telling me about. Ben looked at her unsurely. You're kidding, right? Causing her to chuckle. Of course, dear. Waving farewell, they entered the vehicle and drove off. Sitting behind a table, Alistair cracked his body. grinning widely as he took out his good old supercomputer laptop. Now it's show time. Literally. With the cousins whose ears perked up at the words, coming to sit with him and see what he'll do. And even assist him if needed to. A/N, sorry for the short chapter, but I don't want episodes to overlap. A/N, is it just me or did Max's voice sound weird AF in this episode? Also, I've realized something. Nobody cares about the classics. Every fanfic is about anime and the new cartoons. There's not a single one for the OG cartoons of our childhood. And even if there are, they're trash. No offense to the authors, but my brain rots from the grammar, lack of things like commas and such. Hell, I'll even ignore those if it was actually storytelling instead of just writing names and their conversations. I started watching Kim Possible, Smash, Next Question recently and decided to look for a fanfic. And no surprise, there's none. Not here, not in Wattpad. By the way, if you're looking for Ben 10 fanfics, go for Wattpad instead of webnovel. All of them are there, with a few pretty good ones actually, and just about all of them have Gwen as a member of the harem, you pedos. This always happens, nobody writes for the classics for some reason. Bro, nobody gives a shit about Bleach and Naruto, write for my actual childhood shows like Spider-Man 1994 the animated series, Batman 1992 the animated series, 2003 TMNT, things like this. But no, harem prioritizes everything. Bitch, I don't give two shits about Sakura, Hinata or even fucking Tsunade. 1994 Black Cat showed up on the screen for the first time and I started simping for the first time in my life. She was literally my first childhood crush. And for good reasons. Now do you know why I write for the classics? I saw the useless stuff that was written and I was, fine, I'll do it myself. Respect the classics, damn it. Believe me, when I finish what I've already started, I'm gonna write for my childhood shows and even the games I've played back then. Seeing no fanfic for Devil May Cry hurts me, dude. Respect the fucking classics. CH25, Alistair vs. Ben P1, E5. In the middle of the desert, standing meters away from each other and quite a distance away from the RV with the camera rolling, Alistair smirked at Ben, you ready? Ben grinned back, I was born ready. Lifting their hands, Alistair gently pressed down his watch while Ben, as usual, slammed it down. Red and light intertwined, and the boys were replaced by aliens, menace/forearms dash while the tiger, with pants, showed off his giant biceps menacingly with a bloodthirsty grin. Forearms, who was full of vigor, suddenly lost all excitement at the sight of his opponent. No. No, no, no. Not happening. Why you scared? The Apoplexian smirked smugly, causing the Tetraman to point accusingly. When we agreed on choosing random aliens, you said nothing about choosing menace. It's not fair. To have an easier conversation, without profanities and less rage, Menace turned back to Alistair. He crossed his arms smirking, how was I supposed to know that you'd be so scared of lil old Menace? Scared? I'm not scared of him. Your acting says otherwise. I'm not scared of anybody. He stomped forward, standing several meters taller as he pointed intimidatingly, you hear? Nobody. But Alistair, unfazed, simply smirked, then you should have no problem with me choosing Menace, right? Don't worry, since this is just a spar to get you to learn more about using just muscle in fights, I'll go easy on you. Igor, you know what? Forearms lower till they were face to face, whispering menacingly, it's on, Al. Let's see who's the stronger hero between us. And the Noiret smirked in provocation, I thought we knew that answer already, Benji. Don't tell me you've gotten even dumber than you initially were? Ayo burn. Gwen, sitting under the shadow of the RV, smirked as she applied sunscreen on. Glaring, Forearms stepped back to his initial place, oh, whatever. Not like we're planning on staying as a single alien anyway. You've got that right. Then let's hustle. Without touching his Nemetrix, he transformed into Menace again, Menace. Let me tell you something, Ben Tennyson, who I deeply care for but also want to beat the shit out of. I'm going to beat the shit of you. Forearms gulped, getting ready to fight as he mumbled, somehow, hearing him say he cares about me doesn't feel good here at all when Menace is the one saying it. Of all the aliens he wanted as an opponent, Menace wasn't one of them. No sane person would. And he had half the mind of just taking a run for it when he started sprinting at him. But not wanting to seem like a wuss, he sprinted at him as well. He got a sucker punch to the face though. But he didn't back out. Landing an uppercut, forearms hit him with a left hook before getting gut-checked. Spitting unintentionally from the force of the punch to his stomach, he bent over and groaned, "Those claws are seriously unfair, dude." Menace growled in annoyance, "Fine, then I won't use them so you'll stop whining every second." And true to his words, he retracted them. Grabbing Forearms' head, he made him look up, "You can taste my bare knuckles instead." And landed an uppercut that sent him flying away. Laying on his back, Forearms groaned in pain before he was grabbed by the ankle, and slammed to the ground before Menace threw him onto the RV. "Hey, what are you two doing?" Gwen gasped, quickly running away with Max. "The fight was supposed to stay away from the RV, remember?" Max shouted, "Be careful not to hurt Rust Bucket, kids." Ignoring them, Menace picked up Forearms and hugged him upside down, smiling evilly while doing so. "I've always wanted to do this move. Polaris Pile Driver." Roaring, he jumped meters into the air and delivered the mother of all pile drivers to Forearms. The ground shattered beneath them and created a small crater. It was shocking how Forearms' head and neck weren't completely shattered. But Menace, being the menace that he was, wasn't done yet. He got up and jumped onto the RV again, before leaping into the air, People's Elbow. Landing the meanest elbow drop on the Tetraman, Menace relished in the loud grunt of pain that escaped him as he turned while holding his stomach. "Seriously, dude, chill out." Forearms groaned, but the Apoplexian simply growled as he got up, "How am I supposed to go easy on YA when I'm trying to teach you gravity of what's going on when we get into action? How am I supposed to make your dumb, empty can you call a head understand what fighting means? Fighting isn't about just muscling everything, you dumbass. Fighting is about using your muscles to the best potential. But you dumbass doesn't fucking understand that simple fact. You just think throwing random ass punches will fix all the problems and deal with every single villain that pulls up. Newsflash, it doesn't. Wanna know how I know? It's because I've been kicking your sorry ass like you're my bitch. Like an alcoholic dad that had a shittiest day ever and came home to see his wife and kids. I gave you the master control so you can transform into something else when you were in a fucking pinch and the goddamn alien that you had transformed into wasn't getting you out of it. Like this fucking pinch. Mimicking him, but why would I do that? Forearms is obviously going to solve everything if I just mindless run in and start swinging. I mean, have you seen the muscles on this guy? Who could take him on? Well, guess what, Ben Tennyson? This guy can. Menace can. 'Cause you know why? 'Cause I'm him. And guess what, you're not doing shit when all you do is trying to do everything with your strength and completely turning off your brain. You don't act like a hero, you just act like a kid who has a cool watch. Then what do you expect me to do? Forearms shouted back with a glare, "Turn into Diamond Head just so you can break my body apart. Turn into Stinkfly to retreat while you're holding me. Even if I had turned into Heat Blast, I still wouldn't be able to escape in time. You have a fucking ghost as your alien." Menace roared so hard the pebbles around Forearms' heads flew around by the sheer wind, "A goddamn ghost that can turn intangible. Do you know what intangible means? Or am I supposed to beat that into your non-existent brain too? You don't like that? What about the damn alien that's literally slime? What was I supposed to do to that? Punch it? Or was I supposed to hit it with a suplex? Newsflash, you can't grab liquid. Just like how you can't grab upgrade. You don't like that either. What about gray matter? Even if I couldn't not touch it, you could have still bought enough time to not have your head busted open by that pile driver. Ayo! Forearms went silent. Even with his stupidity and immaturity, he could still see the point of whatever he said. Although it was hard since having a walking, talking tiger roaring at your face was pretty scary. But no. No, why would you do that? Those aliens are simply there for fun, right? They're there for you to use them only for messing around. Like, what's a ghost supposed to do in a fight? It's not like completely ignoring any attacks thanks to being intangible is useful at all. Why would you go intangible when you can tank whatever the hell hits you, right? It's not like there are lasers that can instantly vaporize you. It's not like there are any geniuses besides Alistair fucking Olive out in the fucking universe that can make shit like that, right? What about upgrade? What's the good of that slime walking on two legs? It's not like being able to merge and literally upgrade any technology it bonds to is useful at all. Oh, IT can turn a toaster into a deadly weapon. What's the point of that? And let's completely forget about gray matter. Brain? Smart? Intelligence? Yuck, keep that away. It's not like it was gray matter's species that had a crucial part in making my awesome device, Pandora's box. Why would I ever use that? See my point? Do you understand anything I say? Can you comprehend a single word? You're no hero, Ben. You just wanna mess around and try to save the day while praying that you'll succeed without even thinking about your next move. Do you really think the villains will just wait around? No, they'll try to do whatever they can to succeed in what the fuck ever they're trying to do. Do you know what that means? That means they won't care who they will hurt. And whoever gets hurt then is your responsibility because you were too fucking stupid to compromise. Too stubborn to adapt. And what does happen then? People get hurt. People die. And one day it's your loved ones that will get hurt. Max, Gwen, your parents. They'll be caught in the crossfire and get hurt because you were too hard-headed to adapt to the situation and change your tactics. Fararms's eyes widened in horror. At first he was getting mad. Mad that he was being yelled at for no reason. But when he began hearing what consequences he would suffer for no reason, the reality of what he would always ignore began to sink in. It was always like a game. The heroes showed up, boom, bam, and they won after a fight. A very fun fight. He didn't care about being hit and hurt since nothing serious had ever happened. He had become arrogant. Always thinking some violence could solve it all. But when he heard what could happen because of his arrogance, the lives that could be lost, the lives of his loved ones, his heart tightened on itself. Tightening with horror and guilt. Just the thought of his family being hurt. Much less imagining them dying. And because of him? It was enough to nearly make him cry. It wasn't surprising. He was a child. Not even a teen, but a simple 10-year-old boy who had the biggest responsibility in the universe latched onto his wrist. Imagining anybody dying because of his arrogance, because of his ignorance, especially his family, had him shaking. The fact that Menace didn't mince a single word delivered the harsh truth even harder. It was exactly why Alistair went with Menace to give him the harsh truth. If Ben was going to understand the weight of what he had on his shoulders, he needed to know the consequences of fooling around with it. He didn't believe in with great power comes great responsibility, but he believed that if you chose a side, a responsibility, you needed to do your best in it. That's what responsibility meant. Ben, even if in the form of a giant red alien, was about to cry. Tears welled up in his eyes, but he didn't want to cry. He fought back the sadness, the guilt and the tears, turning them into rage and aggression as a bright green light illuminated the place. The next thing Menace knew was that he was blinded by a bright light and roared in pain by the intense heat that burnt him. He stepped back, feeling his fur burning throughout his entire upper body. A son of a dash, he patted his burning head to get rid of the fire as Heat Blast's shout came, "You think I don't know that?" Seeing a fire coming at him, Menace quickly jumped and rolled to the side. "You think I don't know what happens when I go alien?" Seeing another fire beam heading towards him, he growled and transformed before breathing ice. Stopping the fire by using Winter's ice breath as Heat Blast continued, "You think I don't know the responsibility I shoulder when I fight a stupid villain who only has greed in mind and doesn't care about how many lives end and are ruined because of him?" Chapter 27, ch. 26, Alistair vs. Ben. P2, E5, fire and ice clashed, fighting to push back one another as Heat Blast's angry voice came, "When I step in, it's my responsibility if somebody gets hurt." Why? Because if I hadn't butted in, there could have been a chance that person didn't die because of me. That the damage I caused to my surroundings in the fight could have been prevented if I let the police do their thing instead of some kids playing heroes. You're right, I do pray. Pray and hope that what I do in the moment is enough to save one more life. That I'm not stupid enough to cause somebody to die because of me. Because of me being too much of an idiot to do something just by myself. Moving one hand to the side, he shot another beam of fire that curved to hit Winter from his blind spot. But in the last second, he went intangible, causing both fires to phase through him. But as the brightness of the fire passed, he felt a punch landing on his cheek, causing him to step back several times. He looked around to see Ben, but simply felt another punch landing square on his face and pushing him back again as Ghost Freak's sound came. The pressure is too much. So much that just rushing in and getting into the action is the only way for me to not let it mess me up. An interesting fact that he had heard from Alistair was that two intangibilities cancelled each other out. When he got checked Winter, the Necrophrygian was quick to move and grab his neck. You think everybody's like you? Always calm and planning 5 steps ahead. Well, guess what, I'm not like you. Growling, Winter headbutt him again and again, restraining his hands and overpowering him thanks to his experience in fighting. Groaning after each hit, Ghost Freak managed to free himself before green and red flashed, revealing Stinkfly and Brain Station. Opening the exoskeleton plates covering his massive brain, Brain Station shot a current of electricity. But Stinkfly took off to the air, maneuvering skillfully and dodging his attacks. I get scared. I get afraid and nervous that if I don't do something as quickly as possible, something will happen that will make me wish I hadn't hesitated. Because I'm an idiot who knows something like that will happen if I don't solve something quickly. That's why I just decide to move and just rush face into any danger to solve it as fast as possible. Dodging Brain Station's attacks, he shot several slimes at him, managing to hit him and restrain him in place. Struggling against the sticky substance, he found himself unable to break free. So he transformed into Toxidal, Toxic plus Reptile, the predator of Stinkfly. Dissolving the slimes with his acidic breath, he growled before transforming into Mant Astral and taking to the sky, chasing after Stinkfly. Dodging his slime projectiles left and right. Shooting a beam of laser, he managed to stop him momentarily before transforming right above him and bringing him crashing down to the ground as Toxidal again. Keeping him down and growling in front of his face, he listened to his best friend who was angry out of anxiousness, nervousness and sadness. Because I know that you have my back. Because I know that if I do something stupid, you're there to help me fix and stop it from hurting anybody else. And that's why I'm telling you all this, you dumbass. Menace came back with a roar. It's so that you know, have to be careful. Because if not, the guilt that you'll feel when shit hits the fan is all your own fault. And let me tell you something, Ben Tennyson, who I love platonic and will fuck up the world for. Every word that came out of your fucking mouth at the end is goddamn fucking right, bitch. And you better believe that with your very fucking soul and every fabric of your existence. Because if not, I'll beat it into your bitch ass. Although still frustrated, very much so, Stinkfly couldn't help laughing between small sniffles. Then couldn't we have this freaking conversation more calmly, you jerk? Did you have to make me so frustrated? Getting up with a grunt, Menace freed Stinkfly. Let me tell you something, Ben Tennyson. Alistair fucking Olive doesn't have the heart to scold and break the harsh through to the beloved homies he cares so much about. So it was either Menace delivering it, or Ego, who you can bet your ass that would go above and beyond to humiliate you. So your ungrateful ass better be happy that it was the normal Menace that messed you up and not the E version of Menace. That's reserved for people who I have premium beef with. Ahahaha, yeah, I guess I should be. Stinkfly transformed back, really not wanting to fight anymore, and wiped his nose and a few stray tears that had popped up. Menace followed suit, turning back to Alistair as he held up a hand for Ben to take, a guilty look on his face. You all right? Yeah, I'm good. Ben nodded as he let him help him up. Sighing, Alistair rubbed his neck with a sad look. Listen, I'm sorry it went that way, but I had to let you understand. It's not that I'm frustrated or angry with how you do it, but because I care about you that I get annoyed. Whenever I think that you're going to regret something because of your rashness, I feel guilty myself, because I wasn't a good enough friend to help you fix and better your ways. We're best friends, we're supposed to be there and help each other out. If I weren't to help you, who would? I know, Al. Ben smiled, eyes a bit red before he hugged Alistair tightly, surprising him. And thanks for being a good friend, bud. Thanks for looking out for me and always having my back. I always wanted to say it, but never had the chance or face. Chuckling, he hugged Ben back just as tightly. You're welcome, Benji. I'll have your back and help you no matter what it takes. You better believe that with your very soul and every fabric of your existence, because otherwise. Laughing, Ben pulled back and wiped the last of the sadness from his eyes. Yeah, heard and remember it loud and clear, Captain. Giving a salute and pulling a laugh from Alistair, who punched his shoulder gently. Dork. Come on, let's rest. You took one hell of a beating. Oh, screw you, Ben rolled his eyes, but froze when he saw Max and Gwen looking at them in surprise. Specifically at him. He rubbed his neck with an embarrassed blush. Oh, dang it. This is so embarrassing. Max smiled gently. It shouldn't be, son. He patted his back, to realize and under those things is nothing to be embarrassed about. It's called growth and I'm proud of you for it. Even Gwen smiled. You know what, for once you were cool instead of a total dweeb. Causing Ben to roll his eyes sarcastically. Gee, thanks. Makes me so happy to hear that. But instead of arguing, his cousin just chuckled, and you should be. Because I sure am to have a cousin who knows what a true hero's all about. And I'm sure your parents would be proud too if they were here. As Ben looked away with an even harsher blush, pursing his lips and frowning in embarrassment, Alistair suddenly laughed as he walked into the RV. Oh, don't worry. They'll see what happened and will be proud about it from home. Just like all our other dear viewers, Benji. Oh wait, what? Ben's eyes widened in horror, running after Alistair immediately. Alistair, you're not putting that in the show. But from the inside, where Max and Gwen couldn't see, Alistair just laughed while probably dodging whatever Ben wanted to do. Oh, I'm definitely putting it in. In fact, the part you don't want in the show is the part that's even more important than our entire spar. Hell, I'd even delete that entire fight to make sure that part definitely stays. No, you are not. As they walked in as well, they saw Ben pouncing on Alistair. But he simply dodged and sat on his back to restrain him instead. Yes, I am. It's called character development, Benji. It's the best part of every show. But I was so lame. He whined, giving up on breaking free. Alistair patted his head with a smile. Believe me, it wasn't. It was, in fact, cooler than every time you fought. And I promise our millions of viewers are going to love it. Maybe a bit too much, actually. I've already begun seeing signs of the fujoshis, yaoi-loving girls, appearing in our comment section. Ugh, can't even be homies normally with all these women fetishizing us. They all want one thing between normal homies and it's fucking disgusting. He groaned internally. But the others acted completely differently when they heard him. Millions? They said in shock, Ben straining his neck to look back at him. We actually have 1 million views? Gwen looked flabbergasted too. A million. Seriously? Are you sure you counted the digits correctly? Smirking, Alistair climbed off of Ben and opened his laptop. Why don't you see it yourself? Also, I never said 1 million. I said millions. Going to their channel on YouTube, he showed the view count of the multiple episodes that he had posted, which had already hit 10 digits and rising by the second. Not surprising considering how hard he worked in quickly popularizing YouTube and Predator and Savior. Oh damn, the view count on each one has gone over 10 millions. He himself looked surprised. Damn, this got good pretty quickly. Hell, the movie versions have even higher view counts. Ha 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 ha, this is even better than I had expected. Holy moly. Max said in shock, while Ben and Gwen high-fived with both hands. We're famous. They shouted, jumping up and down excitedly. Chuckling at their reaction and feeling proud of himself, Alistair went to the comment section. The movie versions, of course. He saw a variety of comments, all of which he had expected to see. Comments about enjoying the show, comments about how amazing the CGI was, comments about how interesting the plot was, comments about wanting more episodes, comments about what was the release schedule, and just a few hate comments. They couldn't even be found with how few they were, but after having his little I search for them, they weren't hard to find and for him to clap back. Internet Rule 101, don't be nice to an asshole on the internet. If you wanted to hear what an asshole wanted to say, you could always just fart. But a specific group of comments caught his attention more. Comments that made him smile mischievously. Wait, didn't this actually happen? I'm talking about the animal guy. Yeah, I saw it on the news. It's him, isn't it? Dr. Animo. I heard about what happened in episode 1 too. There was this huge robot that showed up in a campsite and started blasting everywhere. And that a giant dinosaur or something showed up and killed it. Something that looks way too similar to what's in episode 1. I was there when that animal freak showed up. I was shopping when he showed up and started messing up the store. Seriously? What happened next? Exactly what happened in the second episode. A weird spiky dog with no eyes showed up and just mutilated the frog and the hamster or whatever it was. OMG, isn't that Predator? You guys don't actually think that this is real, right? That whatever weird creatures that have been dealing with freaks and criminals are just two kids. My logic says no, but these movies are way too realistic for my heart to say no to. Then you'll just have to wait and see. He replied to the comment with a mischievous grin. Oh, this is gonna get so interesting so fast. And took a sip of the milkshake he had kept in the fridge. Chapter 28, CH27, Ancient Galvan Technology, E5. A few hours later and the gang had reached yet another city. But with spare time at their disposal after Gwen constantly asked to hit a museum, they had gone to visit a museum for fun. And this is their guide explained as they toured the place with quite a few other people. But Alistair didn't pay attention. Not really much of a fan of museums like this. Ben didn't seem to be either, so he whispered, Al, how is it that no one recognizes us? Didn't we have more than 10 million views or something? Even with that many viewers, it's not like everybody will recognize us. The app I've made is still pretty fresh after all. And 2, do you see what we're wearing? Ben glanced at the ring on his pinky. They're recognition disruptors. Basically, they'll interfere with the nearby people's brains a bit and stop them from being able to recognize us unless we pull their attention. Oh, that's neat. A pretty straightforward name, huh? You know me, I like things simple. But why though? Because I just like things when they're not complicated? I was talking about not letting people recognize us. That. No reason, I just wanted us to have fun in peace and quiet. Can't exactly enjoy a museum if people are running around screaming and trying to get autographs, right? Who cares about this museum? I'd rather enjoy my new fame. Don't worry, you'll get to do that when we aren't in places like this. Alistair patted his shoulder with a chuckle, before his Nemetrix began to beep loudly. What in the? He frowned, but the device wasn't stopping. The place went quiet except for his watch, and he noticed that everybody had turned to look at him. He tried to hold it to see if he could at least bring down the volume, but didn't seem to find where the sound was coming from. Hey, what's the matter? Ben frowned too as he checked his own watch, but saw nor heard anything wrong with it. Alistair smiled apologetically at the group. Sorry, I'll be back in a second. And ran off to the bathrooms. When he got in after checking that nobody was around, he started messing with the beeping watch. Seriously, what the heck is going on? But it stopped when he pressed on the symbol and the familiar female voice of the Nemetrix spoke up. Attention, piece of ancient Galvan technology detected, Podes Altier. Please retrieve it from the detected location as soon as possible. What? His eyes widened in shock. Hearing that there was a Galvan technology nearby was already shocking enough. But when he heard what it was, the real shock sank in. Podes Altier, he remembered it. It never appeared in any of the series, but it was the main weapon in one of the Ben 10 games, Ben 10 Ultimate Alien, Cosmic Destruction. It was a powerful device created by the ancient Galvans with the ability to multiply its users' abilities by several times over. But realizing that what they had created was far too dangerous, to the point that even Galvans could be corrupted by the power it bestowed, they hid its 6 pieces on Earth, since even if the humans found it, they wouldn't know how to use it. And in the game, Ben used its power to defeat the evil Tucuster. He couldn't forget the device since it was the only time he had used way big in a Ben 10 game, and this device had made the giant even better by several times. And it was just so cool, and the only device that was added to Ben's arsenal that could strengthen the Omnitrix. After the shock, it was the excitement and hunger that took over. Podes Altier. I want it. But it seems to be in pieces just like in Cosmic Destruction, huh? Well, no problem. The effort and annoyance to get all the other pieces is nothing compared to the power it will give me. I thought my hunger for power would be fulfilled after getting the Nemetrix. But I guess I was wrong. I want more power. He stared into his own crazy smile and red eyes filled with pure hunger before there was a sudden explosion that shook the place. A/N, Virgil would be proud. What the? He frowned before quickly getting out just to be greeted by panicked screaming. Seriously, what's going on? He quickly dodged a grenade-sized missile when his senses were triggered. Seeing the explosive power of the tiny missile, he figured why they did. Aha! He heard a familiar scream. His head whipping to the side, he saw a wall was about to crush Max and Gwen. Eyes widening in panic, he quickly turned into Vicetopus, the predator of Brainstorm, and his tentacles moved straight away to shield all the civilians from the crumbling building. Vicetopus. Tetrix said. What's going on? Forget about that, what the hell is that octopus monster? Oh wait, look at its neck. I've seen that collar. No way, is it them? And those two are the side characters, right? I would very much appreciate it if you made a run for it right now instead. With the falling rocks ending, he turned back and everybody's shock grew even more. Holy shit, it is him. That show's real? That kid can actually turn into monsters. And not monsters, aliens. If that's Alistair Aliyev, then that must be Diamondhead, Ben Tennyson's alien. Hearing Ben's name, Alistair turned to see him fighting against a giant mechanical crab and a man in armor. Groaning at their bad timing, he shouted at the civilians who were taking pictures and films, "Everybody run if you don't want to get in the crossfire." Without waiting to see if they listened or not, he was about to sprint towards his partner and their enemies. But catching something from the corner of his eye and hearing the Nemetrix notification, he froze in place. Piece of ancient Galvan technology detected nearby, please equip it to the Nemetrix. On the ground, next to destroyed glass that was probably containing it, he saw something green made of unfamiliar materials. It glowed under the sunlight and seemed to be inviting him. Glancing at Ben to see his situation, relieved that he was holding on, he bit his lip and picked up the alien material. You better be quick in whatever you're going to do, watch dash. And just when the piece got close to the watch, the Nemetrix suddenly lit up and absorbed it instantly like a ray of light. He jolted in surprise, before his eyes widened at what he heard, upgrading in process, please wait. Oh goddammit, I just had to be impatient. He cursed himself, waiting no longer as he ran to his partner. Checking to see if the watch could work, he sighed in relief when its center sprung up before pushing it down and transforming. Ventriloquism. Transforming into the predator of wrath, he entered his shadow and moved even quicker. Ventriloquist description, predator of apoplections, wrath. This species stands at an even larger size than its prey, and although it's physically slightly weaker than its prey, it mainly uses its innate ability to control its shadow, stay inside of and move through shadows to ambush its prey. It also has the innate ability to notice all pressure points of all organic organisms and use them to have an advantage in hunting. But due to not having intelligence, it only attacks the pressure points that leave its prey completely immobilized. Kyber's Hephaestion Neuro Grip was developed after studying this ability. Ahahahaha, even if you have such a powerful device, it's useless in the hands of an amateur like you. The crab laughed, trying to crush Diamondhead before it was grabbed and his sword was blocked by his diamonds. You know why that's the case? But suddenly Diamondhead's struggling face was replaced by a smug smirk. It was because I needed all the attention of you idiots on me while my bud was saving everybody. Mechanical eyes widening, he looked back. What? And taking advantage of it, Ben turned into forearms before double punching his guts. He groaned before forearms disarmed him and landed several more hits. As he stepped back, head dizzy from all the punches, Ben turned into Heat Blast and shot a beam of fire. Screaming in pain as parts of him began to melt, he flew away as Heat Blast smirked. All yours, Al. Jumping out of the shadows like an orca leaping out of the water, he landed a punch so powerful it made him fly into the opposite direction. Unidentified DNA? Here. Let me give you a welcome gift. Heat Blast smirked at 6-6 flying at him from behind. Heating himself up, he surged his fire to the surroundings till he made a fire tornado that blinded the bounty hunter. But it was too late to stop. He had flown too fast when wanting to catch Heat Blast off guard and could no longer stop. As he covered himself with his arms, his crab partner suddenly came out of the fire and shooting towards him. Eyes widening, he shouted in pain as the oversized crab crashed into him, causing both of them to fly away. They slammed into a wall, causing it to come down and bury them under the rocks. The watch wielders stood next to each other, eyeing the rubble that exploded as the villains got up. You goddamn punk. I'm gonna make you and your little pet regret that. Making the two frown, especially ventriloquism. Bitch, who you calling a pet? The bounty hunters froze up, frowning. What the hell? How is your pet able to speak? While he felt like splitting the crab into pieces, Heat Blast frowned back. What the heck are you talking about? What pet? This is my friend, a human. 6-6 said something, but neither of them understood. Crab however did. Yeah, what nonsense are you saying? Human? Ha, you're pretty bad at jokes. A human can't wield the Nemetrix. No sentient being can. The device will completely destroy their minds in seconds. A Nemetrix? Heat Blast raised an eyebrow, glancing at ventriloquism. I think he's definitely talking about the watch. But hearing him talk made the bounty hunters frown even more. Heat Blast nodded. He called mine the Omnitrix. I guess we finally got their names. Sorry to break this to ya, but I'm both sentient and a human. He turned to the two, and I know for a fact that my mind is completely fine. Scoffing, the bounty hunters got ready to fight. Whatever you are, I don't care. I'm going to take back both the Omnitrix and the Nemetrix and take that reward. Snapping his pincer, he glared, even if I have to rip them off your corpses. The heroes glared back, bringing it, punks. They said, before the fight broke out again, leave the mutt one for me. Transforming into Ghost Freak, he phased through the incoming pincer and 6-6's energy dagger before uppercutting him. Phasing through his attack again, Ben turned into Stinkfly and knocked away the missiles and grenades that he threw at him with his slime projectiles, before shooting at 6-6. On the ground, ventriloquism smirked at Ben's fight. Man, I shouldn't be feeling so proud. Before effortlessly dodging the crab's sword. He jumped back a few times, creating fighting space. Crab spoke smugly. A ventriloquist, huh? You know, I would have been worried if I wasn't like this and saw one with intelligence. Unfortunately for you, your powers won't work on me. And unfortunately for you, nobody said I can't transform into something else. You really should do your homework before getting smug. Might come to bite your sorry. Ventriloquism glared, but was interrupted by the Nemetrix around his neck. Upgrading complete. New function unlocked, evolved transformation function. Chapter 29, CH28, going ultimate, E5E. Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. Amidst Crab's confusion, ventriloquism froze up, before slowly breaking into a fit of loud, psychotic laughter. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Oh buddy, you're so fucking done for. Crab frowned. Did you finally go insane because of the Nemetrix? But Alistair just gave him a sinister smile when he turned into Winter. Insane? Didn't you know? Insane is my middle name. Grinning madly, he for the first time slammed the Nemetrix on his chest. Red light began to go to every part of his body from the Nemetrix symbol, transforming every part it passed and turning the blue Necrophrygian into its evolved form. His blue body turned red, with his wings and antennas gaining a flame design. Giving a bloodthirsty smile, he took to the air and spread his wings menacingly. Ultimate Winter. Oh whoa, what happened, Al? Stinkfly looked with surprise, before quickly transforming into Ghost Freak to phase through the explosions. Wanting to see what was going on, Ghost Freak glared at 6-6 for interrupting him. You want a piece of me? You'll get the whole piece then. Going invisible, he quickly floated towards 6-6 before turning into Upgrade and immediately entering his armor. 6-6 tried to struggle, but was instantly immobilized by Upgrade, who took control of his armor. Now shut up and stay put so I can watch what's happening. Ignoring him, Ultimate Winter smiled evilly at Crab. You two have made a great mistake trying to steal from me. Because now you're gonna run the fate of fire so cold it burns. Breathing intensely, Ultimate Winter breathed out a giant beam of fire that instantly froze both Crab and 6-6. And would do the same for Upgrade if he hadn't transformed into Ghost Freak at the last second and turned intangible. With the bounty hunters dealt with, Ghost Freak floated towards Ultimate Winter. Turning back into Ben, he looked at his new look in shock. Dude, what did you do? What happened to you? Did you do an extra transformation while transformed or something? Oh well, that technically sums it up. This is the evolved version of Winter, Ultimate Winter. My watch, the Nemetrix as they called it, unlocked it just now. Cool. So how did you get it to do it? I'm talking about your watch. It's a bit complicated, alright? I can't explain in this situation. I'll tell you when everything's been dealt with, okay? Wow, man. Ha, fine, I guess you have a point. Then what do we do now? Do we just leave these two icicles here? Ultimate Winter looked thoughtful. His pupilless eyes landed on their armor and weapons. I honestly want to take what they have and absorb them into the tetrix. But 6/6's species is humanoid/cyborg, so that will basically kill him. It will be like taking the skeleton of a human and leaving the flesh. And Krob, if I remember right, isn't like 6/6. He's not half organic, half machine. Was it a war or something? I don't remember exactly, but this body is like 95% implanted mechanical parts, with just 5% of him remaining. For both of them, I'm just killing them. But I missed the part where that's my problem. Since they wanted to kill me, it's completely fine for me to kill them. Yup, completely fine. The only problem here is Ben. I don't exactly want to traumatize my 10-year-old best friend. He turned to Ben. You go and check if everybody's alright or in need of help. I'll deal with locking these guys up. Just wait in the rust bucket, after that I'll come myself. Alright then, I'll leave them to you. Ben smiled, completely buying the acting as he transformed. XLR8. Then don't take too long. And he zoomed away. Once he was sure XLR8 was gone, Ultimate Winter walked up to the ice and put his right hand on it. You heard him, we better hurry up. Obeying him, Tetrix slid down his arm and towards the ice, before projecting a small laser and making its way in like a snake. The mechanical slime began to envelop the frozen bounty hunters before shrinking down around them. Instantly, it shrank into its original size, with the sound of its prisoners being crushed being silenced inside of the ice. Ultimate Winter made the ice disappear into dust before the spread part of the Tetrix returned, joining the sleek armor covering him. Calmly, he turned to look at the sky, visible thanks to the ceiling no longer being there. Did you enjoy the show long enough to come out? Or what, do you want some special invitation? You are a lot crueler than you let on in front of others. The sound of a hoverboard levitating came before a muscular man covered by armor from head to toe flew down to the ruined museum. Stepping down from his green hoverboard with black corners, it shrank to fit on one hand. And a lot more observant than I expected. Your friend didn't notice me at all. Ultimate Winter scoffed with a smile. I can't make it easy for nosy assholes, can I? When he spread his wings menacingly, the new player held up his hand. Please calm down, I'm no enemy. In fact, I'm an ally. His helmet began to retract, revealing him to be a Petrosapian. My name is Tetrax Shard. It's a pleasure to meet you, bearer of the Nemetrix. An ally? Now why would I believe that? You do realize you were tagging along with some bounty hunters who were trying to kidnap me and my friend, right? I'm sorry, but I had to disguise myself as one of them to reach this planet safely. I apologize for the misunderstanding, but I truly am not hostile. What do you mean I had to? Couldn't you use another method to reach here, rather than team up with trash like them? It's not that there weren't any other methods. It's because none of them would work. You may not know it, but this planet has been blocked from any outside entrance. Let me guess, by whoever sent these guys. Exactly. And to reach here I had to act the part. Alright, let's assume what you said is the truth. Then why are you here? I don't assume aliens visit Earth often enough to leave 5-star reviews. It's because of you. Me? Yes, and your partner who just left. So it is about the devices. Nemetrix, did you call it? And not in the way you think. Those 2 bounty hunters were here to take them from you. I'm here to merely make sure they haven't fallen into the wrong hands. And if they had? I'm sorry, but those devices are far too dangerous to be used by the wrong people. Like whoever had sent those 2. Precisely. Those devices in the wrong hands could lead to billions of deaths, extinction and destruction of species, and numerous intergalactic wars. I couldn't just sit around after hearing that somebody had obtained the devices. As he was talking, the sound of police sirens was heard getting closer and closer. Tetrax frowned. What is happening now? Letting the Tetrix cover his eyes to use its binocular function, he saw the police cars approaching rapidly, the guardians of this city, if you'd call them. I'll give you a chance to convince me that you're not an enemy, so we need to get out of here. And remember, any funny business, and those 2 bounty hunters won't be the only ones I'll deal with. Tetrax nodded solemnly. Don't worry, I'm not hostile. Ultimate Winter hummed, I'll be the judge of that. Before transforming, Mant Astral. Just as he was about to slam his Nemetrix, the watch spoke up. Would you like to set the evolved transformation function as the default state of transformations? Mant Astral froze up, before his lips pulled to a giant grin. Do you even need to ask? Yes, do it. It confirmed. Default state of transformations has been set as evolved transformations. Without him even needing to do anything, he suddenly transformed into a gigantic mobula-like alien with a gray top-facing body and cream underbelly the size of flight mare. He had pronounced horns connected to big lips that track off the face like whiskers and large sail membranes between the digits of his wings, all of which are orange. He had a long tail with claws at the end. No longer having a hands or feet, he simply levitated in the air. Evolved amphibian abilities. Enhanced strength. Enhanced durability. Enhanced speed. Enhanced coordination. Underwater respiration. Underwater survivability. Space survivability. Indefinite flight. Superluminal flight. Dimensional travel. Portal generation. Psyche shock blasts. Neuroshock blasts. Neuroblast sail. Camouflage. Protective mucus. Gigantism. Ultimate Mant Astral. Throwing Tetrax onto his back, he moved so fast he instantly disappeared. Surprising from a beast his size. When he appeared again, it was above the rust bucket. He grabbed it with his tail, making the Tennysons inside panic. What is going on? Max held on as Gwen looked outside the window. We're flying. Opening the window, Ben looked up at what had grabbed them and saw the Nemetrix symbol. Not flying, we're being picked up by Alistair. A what? Why is he dash? She frowned as she looked at the street that was getting further and further away, before it suddenly disappeared along with everything else, picking us up? When she looked around, she saw the desert that they had passed a few hours ago. She looked around some more, blinking and rubbing her eyes. Where are we? Before bracing herself when Ultimate Mant Astral put them down gently. Grabbing Tetrax from his back, he put him down before turning back into Alistair beside Ben. All right, time to fess up. Why are you so big? Ben suddenly said. Confused, he turned to Ben but didn't see him. He only saw the brunette when he looked down with a frown. Why are you so tiny? What did you do this time? When Ben looked offended, Max interrupted. No, Al, I think the problem here is with you. You look, a bit older than you usually do. Frowning, he had the tetrix turn into a mirror. The tetrix has the ability to change what substance it is after absorbing multiple materials. It can also change its substance, but not its design. Be it stone, metal, steel, titanium or even diamond, it can turn into any of them after absorbing them. It usually takes on the form of diamonds without changing its design for utmost durability. Looking at his own reflection, his eyes widened. What happened to me? Staring back at him was a teenager of 17 years old, the same age he had died. Why did I suddenly get older? A/N, all right, you know what time it is. Cracking fingers and bones, time for some glazing. He saw the perfect face. Handsome with perfect and distinct features, striking crimson eyes, beautiful obsidian short hair combed back with faded sides, and a jawline gifted by Space Jesus himself. He had to admit he would be gay for that face if it wasn't his. It was some Xianxia bullshit. Expanding the tetrix into a full-body mirror, he saw the most perfect build he had ever seen on a teenager. His body didn't belong to the extreme bodybuilder, but just natural muscles that had been molded into perfection. His distinct muscles were easily visible through the clothes that had, for some reason, expanded to fit his current form. And what he was wearing was most amusing. He was wearing a black suit and pants, with a red button-up shirt tucked into his pants. Well, he did believe the people in suits were more dangerous than anybody else. Fact. Seems like he needed to stay classy and fabulous even while kicking ass. Did my human form go ultimate too? Chapter 30, CH29, Ultimate Alistair, E5, what's going on? Alistair checked himself in the mirror and looked down at himself. But all he saw was that he had aged up. Aged up like fine wine at that. Comment section. Oh my god, he's hot. I'm in love, smiling face with heart eyes. Who's this actor? What's his name? You do realize that he's probably a teen, right? Yeah, looks to be 16 or 17, you sickos. Who cares? He's gorgeous. OMG, Alistair x Ben ship just got so much better. Alright. The number of fanfics are probably going to skyrocket now. They better be, cause I'm already impatient to look up for fanfics after finishing this episode. His eyes widened. Wait, that permission request from the Nemetrix just now. He raised the hand with the Nemetrix. Hey, Nemetrix, is this your doing? The red parts of the device lit up. Affirmative. You had confirmed the default state of the transformations to be their evolved forms. He frowned. Yeah, my transformations. Why did my original body get an evolved form too? That's because the Homo sapiens/human species isn't the original species of the host. She dropped a bomb and refused to elaborate. The silence was thick. Like an old-school cartoon mom. Speechless, Alistair turned to look at the others except Tetrax, who was just standing there awkwardly, and saw that they were just as shocked as them. Then, what's my original species? He asked unsurely, and the Nemetrix answered, answering the host, the original SP #CI at SON at underscore and end at dollar at asterisk dollar hashtag dollar dash. Hearing it glitching, Alistair quickly stopped it. Whoa, chill out. No need to answer, no need to answer. When it stopped, he sighed in relief. Huff, that scared me. I thought I broke it. He wiped the sweat from his forehead. You alright, Nemetrix? With its answer, he calmed down. Affirmative. Seeing it truly was all right, he sighed in relief. Thank God nothing happened. Because I know something bad would have happened if I let it continue. Sighing in relief again, he looked at the Tennysons. Sorry, guys, seems like we can't get any answers right now. But before anything else, we've got an interrogation going on. He turned to Tetrax, who looked as serious as ever. The Petrosapien nodded. Ask whatever you wish. I'll answer whatever I can. Not skipped on the show. After clearing his name and convincing them that he wasn't a bad guy, Tetrax began to explain some things about the devices. At least whatever he knew. So this thing's name is the Omnitrix? Ben, sitting inside of the rust bucket with everybody else, looked at his watch before looking at the Nemetrix. And that's the Nemetrix? Tetrax nodded. That's right. They're the most powerful weapons in the galaxy. The key to an epic battle between good and evil. Their power utilizes alien DNA, which binds to the host's own genetic structures. Alistair hummed, which is why they can't be removed so easily. Tetrax nodded again. Of course. Devices that bind to the DNA cannot simply be removed like taking off a hat. Ben, can I ask you something? Those bounty hunters kept on saying something about Al being a pet or something after seeing him in his transformed state. What was up with that? Alistair groaned in annoyance. Tetrax, actually, I've been confused about you as well. As far as I know, the Nemetrix was designed to protect the Omnitrix like a guardian. That's why it is only supposed to have the DNA of predators, which results in no sentient being having the ability to wield the Nemetrix. Because if someone does so, their mind will be broken in minutes. That's why it's known that the Nemetrix would be wielded by the pet of whoever wields the Omnitrix, since it can only be wielded by non-sentient beings like animals. Comment section. Aeon. He said Alistair's supposed to be Ben's pet. That's so hot. I'm gonna faint. I'm so happy I didn't search for fanfics before continuing this episode. Jesus Christ, you people need help. These two are children, you sick fucks. And not anymore. Just look at Alistair, he's all grown up now. Oh yeah. Then what about Ben? He's still 10. Oh please, age is just a number. So is 911. They're both underage anyway, so it's not even a crime. Or at least that's supposed to be how it is. Tetrax continued, unaware of what was going to happen in the comment section after the episode was posted because of what he had said, so I'm confused as to how you, a clearly sentient being, can wield the Nemetrix. And you don't seem to be affected negatively at all on the surface. Unfortunately, I can't say the same thing about his taste buds. Ben groaned quietly to Gwen, who nodded with a grimace. Tetrax looked at Alistair seriously but also curiosity. Has there been any effects on your behavior? Anything violent or animalistic? Alistair shook his head. None at all. My senses seem to be getting stronger ever since I woke up, but nothing other than that. Tetrax, I don't think that's necessarily because of the predators. Ben, then why else? Tetrax, it's because of the special function of the devices. I've heard that they will transform the users into the peak condition of the aliens they have. Hence why the aliens you turn into aren't children like you. Gwen, ew, that's cool. Wait, so if Alistair isn't originally a human and that's his transformation, does that mean he has always been the peak of the human race? Tetrax, if he truly isn't originally a human, then yes. I am confused about why he would be turned into a child, but we don't know everything about the devices. Alistair smirked smugly. Hell yeah, baby, I'm literally the best human there has ever been. But I guess since that transformation was set as a child, it was still underdeveloped. Hence why instead of being the strongest and smartest human right off the bat, my body was slowly improving instead. Like how a child would mature into an adult. But you're right, it is confusing why it would do that. Well, we can always just ask it. Raising his left hand, he looked at the watch. Hey, Nemetrix. Why is my normal human transformation a child unlike all my other aliens and predators that are fully mature? It came to life once again. That's because upon scanning the other species, they were all in their fully grown states. However, the scanned subject of the human species was a child, Ben Tennyson. Ben's eyes widened. You scanned me? And Gwen grimaced. Worst possible subject for scanning you could have picked, Nemetrix. Earning a glare from her cousin. Max hummed thoughtfully. The Nemetrix automatically scans any species that comes near it for the first time. So when Ben, the first human, got near, it scanned him too. Alistair looked at his watch. Then if the first human was Grandpa Max, would my human transformation's default maturity be an old man? The Nemetrix replied affirmative. Causing him to sigh in relief. Thank God Ben was near instead. Ecomeon al. Max smiled awkwardly. Alistair chuckled apologetically. Sorry, Grandpa Max. Luckily, the Nemetrix saved him. Would you like to change the default maturity of your Homo sapien transformation? I can do that. The Nemetrix not only automatically scans every unidentified species, but also scans every different version of the scanned species. However, the host is notified only when the species is of a completely different evolution or has gone through mutations. Scanned differences such as gender, race, age, etc. are not announced. Gwen, he can change his age? Ben, he can turn into a girl? Alistair, I can say the N-word? The humans looked at him judgingly. The phrase "there are 3 kinds of people in a friend group, the normal one, the honey one, and the terrorist" had never seemed so true. Alistair shrugged. What? It's what everybody would have thought. Ben shook his head. No, you're just weird as always. Causing him to roll his eyes before he looked at the Nemetrix, then set the physical maturity of my human transformation to the same as I am now. Understood. Setting the default maturity of human transformation to 17 years old. Ben got confused. What? Why mess with your normal form? Aren't you going to stay in your ultimate Alistair form? Alistair shook his head. No, because this body is, well, too strong. The reason why it seems impressive only in appearance is because the Nemetrix seems to have sealed its powers. Otherwise, I'ma be honest, ultimate Alistair is a pretty strong alien. And you know me, I don't like being nerfed. No way I'm staying in a sealed state 24/7. A/N, when I was deciding what human transformation will be like, I thought of fictional characters who got to where they are by just training their bodies. No magic, no mana, no supernatural powers involved. And when it comes to characters like that, only 2 people come to mind. Saitama and Yujiro Hanma. I had thought of putting Batman too, but I just like the menace known as Yujiro Hanma more. So you have Saitama with hair as ultimate human and Yujiro Hanma for normal transformation, which turns Alistair into the peak of the human race. By the way, the abilities of the Homo sapien and evolved Homo sapien are at the end of the chapter to not waste word count. He turned to his device. Nemetrix, return the default state of transformations to their normal versions. I understood. With a red flash of transformation, he found himself without the stuffy feeling of having his powers restrained. He sighed in satisfaction before looking to see what had changed in the mirror. Nothing had changed. Due to the Nemetrix restraining all his ultimate Alistair powers, he was basically just in his aged-up normal transformation. But he instantly noticed a change. His drip had devolved. Now he was just in a casual outfit of a black shirt and jeans instead of a beautiful suit. Alistair felt disappointed, but he just shrugged, can always just buy a suit myself. Not like I'm not making big money now. Ben smirked, so the difference between your normal and ultimate form is the clothes you wear? Earning an eye roll, no, genius. Believe me, you'll love it when you see ultimate Alistair in action. But having an awesome drip is definitely a perk. With the conversation finished, Tetrax rose up. It seems like I don't have any business here anymore. The others got up with him. Alistair smirked, so satisfied with who got the watches? Surprisingly, Tetrax smiled. Yes, it seems like they've fallen into the right hands. I don't have anything to worry about. I just hope it stays that way. Ben gave a huge smile. Hey, we're the best heroes around. Don't think that will ever change. Seeing the Petrosapian glance at him, Alistair chuckled. As long as the world doesn't give me a reason, I'm chill too. Tetrax sighed. Good enough. As he opened the door and walked out, he halted and turned to the Noirette. Oh, and take this. Alistair raised an eyebrow as he handed him his hoverboard. Think of it as an apology. Taking it, he shrugged. All right then, thanks. But how are you going to go back now? Tetrax smirked as he fiddled with his belt. Getting in here was hard, but not getting out. Hope we meet again, bearer of the Nemetrix, bearer of the Omnitrix. And as a red beam of light surrounded him, he disappeared. Smirking, Alistair let the tetrix absorb the hoverboard. Teleportation. Gotta make one for myself. Peak Homo sapien abilities. During immaturity. Enhanced strength. Enhanced durability. Enhanced agility. Enhanced jumping. Extended lifespan. During maturity. Superhuman strength. Superhuman speed. Superhuman durability. Superhuman stamina. Superhuman agility. Superhuman reflexes. Superhuman equilibrium. Regenerative healing factor. Shockwave generation. Earthquake generation. Demon back. Statistics amplification via demon back. Intimidation aura. Madness inducement via aura. Extrasensory perception. Accelerated development. Poison immunity. Disease immunity. Genius level intelligence. Martial arts mastery. Tactical genius. Technique reading. Stealth mastery. Weakness detection. Fighting instinct. Evolved Homo sapien abilities. Supernatural condition. Supernatural body. Supernatural mind. Supernatural beauty. Supernatural charisma. Supernatural sex appeal. Supernatural potential. Supernatural strength. Supernatural speed. Supernatural durability. Supernatural stamina. Supernatural agility. Supernatural reflexes. Supernatural equilibrium. Unparalleled physical prowess. Invulnerability. Vacuum survival. Indomitable will. Accelerated development. Afterimage creation. Shockwave generation. Non-physical interaction. Technique mimicry. Intangibility negation. High lung capacity. Gravity resistance. Night vision. Intuition. High intelligence. Regenerative healing factor. Danger sense. Chapter 31, CH30, Ultimate Tetrix E5. Ben walked to Alistair's side. Today was really weird, huh? First, I get the lecture of the century by menace of all people, then we're being hunted by space bounty hunters, then you go ultimate or whatever, then we find out you're not even a human to begin with. So weird. Seriously weird. Max nodded curiously. Tetrax didn't know anything about you either, even though you came with the Nemetrix. But the weirdest part is how you can't seem to return to your original form. Ha 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 ha, but to think you were an alien to begin with. Right? Such a plot twist. Alistair chuckled with him before Gwen raised an eyebrow. Is it though? I mean, he did come from outer space, so I don't think him being an alien is that weird. The guys looked at each other before shrugging. Guess she has a point. Stretching his new muscles, the Noirette groaned. Well, now with changes comes adaptation. Gotta get used to some things and modify some things. Like what? Ben asked curiously. Smirking, Alistair walked into the rust bucket and took off the tetrix. All of my transformations can go an extra mile now, remember? So, remember how tetrix is part of a normal galvanic infectoid? Gwen grew confused. Tetrix. He held up his best creation, Nemetrix, Omnitrix. I thought I should give this a suitable name. So tetrix it is. Ben's eyes widened. So you want to upgrade that into a piece of ultimate overdrive? As they followed him inside, Alistair went to the back and took out the miniature version of the device he had used to make the tetrix. It resembled a microscope to a certain degree, but more fancy and technologically advanced. Exactly. Alistair smirked, transforming with a red flash, overdrive. Gently smacking the Nemetrix, because going ultimate wasn't achievable by pushing it, a red light came out of the watch and began to cover him. Ultimate overdrive. Well, what do you know, he could speak now. Evolved galvanic infectoid abilities. Technology absorption. Technological destruction. Technology infection. Technology enslavement. Technology parasitism. DNA extraction. Blueprint absorption. Body alteration. Size alteration. Self-liquefaction. Small space maneuvering via self-liquefaction. Regeneration. Elasticity. Shape-shifting. Technology mimicry. Improvisational technology creation. Optic laser. Bioelectricity generation. Enhanced strength. Enhanced durability. Enhanced jumping. Enhanced reflexes. Space survivability. Underwater survivability. Digitalized vision. Turning the tetrix into a laser, he cut off a finger. The detached part turned into a small black and red puddle before he placed it under the laser of his device along with the tetrix. With a red flash, he transformed once again, Brainiac. Smirking, the Galvan reached out to his back and gently slapped the watch. As the light began to travel through him, there didn't seem to be any changes. Until it reached his head. His head, the area above his forehead, took a massive change. Literally. A big third eye appeared on his forehead and his head began to grow into an enormous size for his size, before a tail twice his height and even thicker than him appeared behind his head. It was like a one-eyed snake had fused into Brainiac's head. A/N, as I said in the comments, Albedo's evolved Galvan design was just awful. This one is honestly awesome. Kudos for the artist. Ultimate Brainiac. His wise voice that spilled intelligence rang out as he floated in the air. He looked like a mature, middle-aged gigachad of the Galvan race. The black line that was usually on his forehead but had moved to his chin looked like a goatee that made him look even better. Evolved Galvan abilities. Hyper-evolved intelligence. Energy beams. Force field generation. Energy pulses. Enhanced durability. Flight. Telekinesis. Yugh, this is so unfair. Ben sighed, why do you always get the good stuff? You didn't explain anything about these ultimate forms either. Ultimate Brainiac answered while working on his creation, it's simple, my dear partner. After the Nemetrix absorbed a piece of ancient technology which was sent here by the ancestors of the species of the alien I currently am, it upgraded to unlock a function which would put my transformations into simulations. Simulations which would subject them into millions of theoretical years of worst scenario in order to see how they would evolve in danger. Which, as you've seen, bears remarkable results. A/N, don't worry, they're not going to become alive suddenly. Ben's eyes brightened, oh, I guess I get it. Then what about mine? How are we going to unlock ultimate transformations for me? Ultimate Brainiac halted, contemplating on whether to tell him the truth or not. But he decided against it, I guess we'll only know if we find another piece of what I found, partner. But until then you must be patient. Also Benji, I need to warn you. Turning around, he looked at his best friend awkwardly, you already know that my device, the Nemetrix, seems to be a lot more complex than the Omnitrix. You've seen how it has a few more functions. Which is what leads me to believe that piece of Galvan technology didn't just give my watch the ultimate function, but just gave it enough power to unlock an already implanted but locked function. So I hope you won't get your hopes too high in case it doesn't work out like how you want it. Ben looked reluctant, but sighed in the end. All right, I'll try to act mature. But only because you told me to. Smiling at the improvement he was already seeing in his best friend, Ultimate Brainiac floated to stand on his shoulder. Ben, listen, even if your watch doesn't have that function, I promise that I'll find a way to let you have the ultimate function too. Even if I have to make a completely new watch that has that function built in. You know I'm not stingy with these things. Remember how I unlocked master control for you too? Ben's disappointment disappeared instantly, excitement returning as he smiled brightly. Yeah, you're right. Thanks Al, you're the best friend anybody could have. Causing Ultimate Brainiac to chuckle, glad to know you know my worth. Now since your jealousy is out of the way. Hey. I'm not jealous. Ben huffed, but the evolved Galvan just floated to his device. I'll be working on my device. The brunette huffed in annoyance, slumping on a chair as Gwen smirked. You know he's right. Earning an eye roll. Poor Max rubbed his neck. Geez, now we need to drive all the way back to the city again. Ultimate Brainiac looked back apologetically. Sorry, Grandpa Max. I didn't have the time to wait around with the police coming and being suspicious of Tetrax, so I just brought us to the desert. It's all right, son. He smiled. You did the right thing. And it's just a few hours of driving anyway, nothing much. Ultimate Brainiac hummed before smiling. Want me to drive? Gwen raised an eyebrow. Huh? But you can't. You're just a kid, never mind. She realized her mistake as he smirked. Pinching his chin, Max smiled. Hey, now that you're older you can help me drive. Do you mind? You don't even need to ask, Grandpa Max. Ultimate Brainiac chuckled. Just give me a few minutes to finish this, then we'll hit the road. You can rest for a bit. And true to his words, he finished upgrading Tetrix in a few minutes and held it up proudly. Say hello to the new and better Tetrix. Ben raised an eyebrow. You're done already? Wow, it was a lot faster than I expected. Ultimate Brainiac deadpanned and side-eyed him judgingly. Benji, say my name. Ooh. Ultimate Brainiac? You're goddamn right. I'm Ultimate Brainiac, the inventor, the genius, the definition of the word intelligence, and the best version the smartest species in the entire universe could ever hope to achieve. This is nothing for me. As he held up the black and red sleek box, it began to liquefy and turn into an armor around him. Cool. The cousins exclaimed as they looked at the new armor. Black and orange was good, but red always went the best with black armor. Ben asked curiously, so what's the difference? What can it do now? Glad you asked. Ultimate Brainiac smirked, before turning back to Alistair. Allow me to demonstrate out in the open. As he walked out, the others followed him curiously. The Tetrix was already awesome as it was when it was just a modified piece of a normal galvanic infectoid. They couldn't wait to see what the evolved galvanic infectoid version could do. The Tetrix got quite a few new abilities, but I'll just tell you the two main ones. First of all, Alistair held up his hand and the Tetrix moved in the air to turn into a sport bike. Is this new ability? Ben, ever so clueless, looked dumbfounded. So? It can now turn into a bike? Causing Alistair to roll his eyes. No, genius. Remember how the Tetrix functioned? It couldn't turn into anything until it had absorbed that thing. Even if I tried to turn it into something, then it would just fall apart. But now it's different. As long as I have the blueprint of what I want it to turn into in my head, the Tetrix will turn into what I want even if it hasn't absorbed that thing. I haven't absorbed a sports bike, remember? But it just turned into one because I had the complete blueprint in my head. Ayo! The Tennysons wowed in amazement. The difference between the normal version and the evolved version truly was big. The potential of the Tetrix, which was already huge, just became limitless. After all, with aliens like Brainiac and Brainstation, just what couldn't Alistair think of making? And they could now go ultimate, which meant they could become even more intelligent. And this is the second ability. As he willed the Tetrix to return, it moved to Ben's hands before turning into an MP3 player that Tetrix had absorbed previously. But as if instead of turning into, it had latched onto it like a galvanic mechamorph, it pulled away and returned to Alistair's wrist. However, the MP3 player remained. Their eyes widened at what remained on Ben's hands, causing the Noirette to smirk smugly. Technology recreation. As long as the tetrix has absorbed a technology, it can recreate the perfect replica by using itself as material. Remember how it can absorb and turn into substances? It uses that ability. Also, it can create as many as I want as long as it has enough biomass, that is. It has a regenerative healing factor, by the way, so it can just regenerate its lost biomass. That's so cool! The cousins exclaimed before Gwen looked thoughtful, but wait, isn't that also a disadvantage? Wouldn't that mean that the tetrix wouldn't be able to recreate giant things like spaceships and such since it wouldn't have enough biomass? A/N, fun fact, I saw myself writing the latter half of the above paragraph in my dream a few days ago. Alistair smiled, good question. But you see, the tetrix has a lot more biomass than it shows. It's literally heavier than it seems, you could say. You see, the tetrix not only can regenerate its biomass, it can also absorb substances and technologies and store them as biomass. In the future, forget about a single spaceship, the tetrix will have enough biomass to make an entire space battalion. Max almost frowned. You have seriously made an extremely powerful device, huh? Good thing it can't fall into the wrong hands with how it can only be used by you. Alistair laughed. Wrong hands? It can't fall into any hands other than mine. The lengths I went through with the security system on this thing is just absurd. Anyway, now with the little show over, let's hit the road. He skipped inside before sitting behind the wheel. As everybody got in, Max frowned. Wait, but you don't even know how to drive. Pulling a scoff from the smirking Noirette, Grandpa Max, please. I'm the peak of the human race. I'm literally smarter and more adaptable to any situation than any fictional human character. For you to think I wouldn't already know how to drive is most amusing. Now you all just sit back and relax while I get us there in a jiffy. Tetrix abilities. Technology absorption. Technology transformation. Technology recreation. Technology mimicry. Technology destruction. Technology infection. Technology enslavement. Technology parasitism. Blueprint absorption. Body alteration. Size alteration. Self-liquefaction. Small space maneuvering via self-liquefaction. Regenerative healing factor. Elasticity. Shapeshifting. Improvisational technology creation. Chapter 32, ch 31, Drama on Live TV, E5. We're alive? B opened the rust bucket's door with shaky legs. We're alive. We're actually alive. Rolling his eyes, Alistair took off his seatbelt. All right, you're exaggerating it. Walking past Max, who was grabbing onto whatever he could find to keep himself in place, a horrified look on his face. And also Gwen, who wasn't much better than her grandpa. Looking back while holding onto the door to not fall, Ben glared. Oh yeah. Well, guess what? Adding rockets to Rust Bucket with your tetrix is the exaggeration. I thought I was gonna die. Couldn't you drive it normally? Too slow for my liking. Now stop crying about it like a baby and let's go inside. Stepping out the car he had so perfectly parked, he walked into the high-class hotel he had chosen for them to stay in. He was rich now, better make use of it. A/N, fun fact, the Ben 10 franchise's worth is $7.85 billion. Higher than Twilight, Game of Thrones, Sonic, Digimon and Madden. Now imagine how much the worth of Alistair's show is going to be when it's real life. I'll just continue to drive myself. Max, still shaken, mumbled to himself. The cousins would never agree to something so hard together. AMGGHH. After posting the new episode, Alistair groaned as he cracked his neck, a towel at hand inside of their room. I'm going to take a bath. You amuse yourselves, I'm going to take a while. Too tired. Gwen, who was drying her hair after getting out, looked at his wrist curiously. I get the Nemetrix, but why won't you take off the tetrix when taking a bath? It's called fan service, Gwen. Need the tetrix for it. Always needed in a good show. He mumbled, confusing her as he walked into the shower. After quite a while, when the Tennysons were beginning to think he had fallen asleep in the bathtub, he finally got out. Hey Al. Look, we're on TV. Just to hear Ben's excited voice. Covering his perfect body with a bathrobe, he came to watch the TV while drying his short hair. Are we now? Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm Will Harang and we're live on Will Harang Nation. A middle-aged man wearing a black suit and tie with short, brown hair that grayed at the temples said, "Our top story, it's got to be Alistair Aliyev and Ben Tennyson, 10-year-old elementary school students who've been sighted terrorizing several cities in the past week or so." Terrorizing? Ben gasped. While the others frowned, Will continued, "That's right, ladies and gentlemen. In the past several days, there have been sightings of various strange creatures. They were thought to be weird jokes by people before being thought of as monsters, and we have just recently found out that they're aliens." That's right, aliens. All of these strange events had been recorded and posted on the new app called YouTube, which was created by Alistair Aliyev himself. Everybody, however, had thought that these were extremely realistic movies, but we have found the final proof to know that every episode of the show Predator and Savior is in fact real today, just a few hours ago when the Museum of City was attacked by two strange creatures that turned out to be aliens as well. The pictures of Krob and 66 showed up on the screen before the video of the attack began to play. These aliens turned out to be bounty hunters who had been hired to take back these strange devices that let these children transform into extraterrestrial creatures to their rightful owner, probably. Alistair could feel the veins on his forehead throbbing. Will harangue the most annoying character of the entire Ben 10 universe. "Ha, it's this bitch, huh? Gott, ich hatte this asshole. I thought that he'd lay off since we're children, but I guess he's way too much of a bitch for that. And the worst part is that he's doing this just for publicity." Will continued with his bitching. Clearly these two children think of themselves as superheroes or something, but just interfere in the work of the professionals. Before suddenly smiling, "Speaking of professionals, we have actually managed to contact one of the greatest heroes of all time in such a short notice. I'd like to welcome Captain Nemesis." On the other half of the screen, the video call of Carl Nesmith aka Captain Nemesis appeared with smiles. "Hello, Will, it's a pleasure to be on your show. I'm just sorry I wasn't able to be there in person. I don't get much free time with my lifestyle, as you already know." Ha 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 ha, of course. I wouldn't want to get in the way of you saving civilians, Captain Nemesis." Will smiled, causing Alistair and the Tennysons to deadpan together. "Ass kisser." They thought. The bitch bitched on, "I'm just glad we were able to contact you on such a short notice to get your take on these kids who are playing heroes instead of doing their homework and interfering in the works of actual heroes such as yourself." Captain Nemesis laughed. Now, there's no need to be so hard on them. After all, they are just kids. They probably just want to help the people in need, but don't know that they're probably causing even more trouble. Yeah, I've had just about enough of this bullshit." Suddenly Alistair appeared next to Will with a red flash and interrupted the old hero. The Tennysons' heads whipped to where he was sitting just now, but didn't see anything. Instant teleportation device creation with the tetrix was handy as hell. Who the hell are you?" Harangue jumped out of his seat. The teenager in a bathrobe held up his left hand, showing his Nemetrix to the camera. "Hello, everyone. It's yours truly, Alistair Aliyev." Frowning, Harangue looked at him and the image of the young boy on the screen. "Huh? What? But that H how?" Hands behind his head, Alistair leaned back on his chair. "A lot of things in the new episode. But that doesn't matter. Just know that I'm Alistair Aliyev himself in the flesh. Now you two seem to like talking shit about me and my partner in Love TV. So I decided to pay a visit. Let you say all that to my face instead of to the camera. Now please go on. Don't mind me, continue." The two old men, who so shamelessly were just dissing two innocent children who just wanted to help people, stood awkwardly in silence. Alistair stared at Harangue nonchalantly. "Come on, go on. I mean, I didn't come here right after my beautiful bath just to look at you. It's not like you're pleasing to the eye or anything. Don't worry, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not violent or impulsive like that, come on. It's not like I'm barely holding myself back from turning into menace of anything. The ultimate version at that. It's the tiger alien with anger issues, by the way, in case you didn't know." To not seem like a total bitch, which he was on live TV, Harangue turned to the cameraman, waving his hand in front of his throat to signal him to cut the camera. But Alistair just chuckled. "Oh, no need to worry about the camera, Mr. Harangue. I've made sure that nothing will happen to it with the tetrix. It's not like we'd want something to ruin the show when you've got a sweet interview with the hot topic himself, right? So please go ahead. Feel free to interview me when I've been generous enough to waste my time on your scrawny ass. Harangue's frown turned into a glare. Now listen here, you little dash, but he shut himself up when Alistair's calm but pissed gaze landed on him. I said, continue. Captain Nemesis, who had just been watching awkwardly, finally interrupted with a fake smile. Now, son, there's no need to act irrational. Just calm down and dash, but was interrupted himself. Irrational? You're got the guts to use that word with the shit that's been coming out of your mouth. Alistair glare moved to him. So me defending my best friend and myself from criticism and fake news is irrational, but you two grown-ass bastards dissing out children who only want to save people's lives on live TV is alright. Yeah, that's rational. That's literally the definition of rational, isn't it, you wastes of space? Jealousy is a real bitch, huh? Now you shut your mouth, damn envious fraud. I'll come for you later. For now, I've got my hands full with another trash already. Snarling angrily at the video call, he snapped his fingers, and Captain Nemesis's face disappeared. When his head turned to Harangue, eyes bloodshot in anger, the grown-ass man jolted, visibly afraid. And you? For how long are you going to just stand there like a glorified stick? Spit out all that bullshit fake news you were about to say to the public, asshole. He stuttered, making veins pop up on Alistair's face. Hurry up. As he backed off, Alistair scoffed with a pissed smirk. Oh right, you can't. I forgot how you're a wuss who can only talk big behind people's backs. I mean, look at you. Was talking mad shit until I showed up, now you can't do shit when I'm telling you to say all that to my goddamn face. Taking a deep breath to calm himself, Alistair got up angrily. Now let me tell you something, you fame-seeking, jealous piece of shit who would go as far to spread misinformation just for publicity. He walked up to him, looking ready to kill. Me and Ben just want to help people. And if you or anybody else can't see that, then that's your problem. But I swear to all that is holy, if I catch you getting on my nerves or trying to as much as diss us again on TV or any social media. When a red flash enveloped him, a roar replaced his voice. You've got menace to deal with. Seeing the deadly fangs appear mere inches away from his face, Harangue fell flat on his ass in terror. Wetting himself meanwhile. Menace growled as he straightened up aggressively. Damn it, bitch ruined my entire mood. And my nose too, Jesus. Somebody get this bitch a towel or something, he pissed everywhere. Turning to the window, he walked and mumbled aggressively. Fuck, ruined my goddamn mood. With a red flash, he transformed into Godspeed, but wasn't in the mood to announce it. Instead, he slapped the Nemetrix again. His black and red body began to be enveloped in sleek armor. His elbows, which were protruding outside, grew long and into sharp blades with red edges. His tail went through the most dramatic change, growing almost thrice in length. It also grew a hooked blade with glowing edges. Evolved kineceleran abilities. Tribokinesis. Enhanced speed. Enhanced agility. Enhanced reflexes. Enhanced strength. Enhanced durability. Enhanced jumping. Speed rotation. Speed kicking. Speed cutting. Sharp claws. Vortex generation. Accelerated thinking. Heat resistance. Wall scaling. Water running. Prehensile tail. Retraced Ebelvisor. Friction manipulation. Molecular vibration. Portal generation. Static electricity generation. Electricity absorption. He turned to the camera again. I'll say this one more time, so all you jealous assholes better listen closely. We don't want to hurt you, neither do we want fame or fortune in doing what we do. Me and my best friend just want to help those in need, that's all. If you still think we're some kind of terrorists, that speaks volume of your intelligence. And also, this is for the governments across the world. I wish a bitch would try. You got that? If any government tries to pull some shit, pressure is or anything to try and get their hands on these devices, I'm warning you, I am, in fact, dramatic enough to start world war and select nuclear bombs as my casual ammunition. For the sake of the human race, I hope you'll keep your greed in check. 'Cause as you just saw, I can't do that with my anger issues. Oh, by the way, I didn't come here just to correct your bitch-ass harangue. Tetrix, you done? Yes, sir. The Tetrix's new British hot dammy mommy voice, different than the Nemetrix's, said as it got out of Harangue's phone. His entire search history, including every deleted piece, has been uploaded into the internet. I think the police would like to have a conversation with Mr. Harang very soon. Smirking for the first time in what felt like an eternity, he let his creation cover him in sleek armor. Glad to hear that. Thanks. Now then, goodbye. And he simply disappeared out of sight instantly. Chapter 33, ch 32. Not everybody's ungrateful. E5. As soon as Ultimate Godspeed disappeared, the TV ended and he appeared in their hotel room again. Transforming back, he picked up the hot chocolate he had prepared. That should teach those assholes a lesson. See if I won't reveal their search history and every single crime they've committed if they try something. As he sat down on the big sofa, he glanced at the depressed-looking Ben. What's wrong, Benji? The brunette sighed sadly. I just don't get why they're acting like this. I mean, you said it yourself, we're just helping people. But they make us out to be the bad guys. Max patted his shoulder comfortingly. Do you want to know why? As Ben looked at him curiously, he answered, it's because of jealousy. Alistair said it right there, didn't he? Believe me, Ben, jealousy can be a very ugly thing. It can earn the hate of others for no reason, just as you saw. You too became famous, but earned the jealousy of others when you did. People like that guy get blinded by envy and completely ignore your good actions, because they're envious of how you were able to achieve them. They are envious of your abilities, your watches and your fame. But because they can't have them, they simply hate on you instead. Ben looked even sadder. Then, what am I supposed to do? It's not like I try to make them jealous. I just want to help people. Alistair sipped on his hot chocolate. There are two ways to deal with these people. Getting the other's attention as he continued. 1. Completely ignore them. Life isn't all sunshine and rainbows. People will always find a stupid reason to hate on you. And now that we're famous, people will be even more jealous. So the first way is to completely ignore them and live your life. Ignore them like how you did to others before you got the watch. And the second way is what I just did, clap back. Nobody said you have to tolerate their nonsense. In fact, they're stupid if they think we'll just take it and let them walk all over us. When they find an excuse to hate on us, we'll just completely prove them wrong. If it's just nonsense and irrational like how those two bastards acted, we'll just shut them up. I don't know about you, but although I play the hero, it's not like I'm some saint. You already know my temper, I'm not someone to take disrespect. But we can't deal with the jealousy of everybody in the world, so let's just let them run around panicking like headless chickens. AL's right, Ben. Gwen nodded. Why do you even let their nonsense get to you? You should just ignore those jerks and focus on what you do best, being a hero and saving lives. In fact, I have something to show you too. As they turned to her curiously, she turned her laptop towards them with a big smile. Check these out. They focused on the screen and what they saw was the positive comments of people who they had saved before. I don't care what those jealous idiots say, those two are heroes. I was in that museum attack this afternoon with my son, and we were nearly killed by that crab alien when Ben Tennyson saved us. Exactly. I was there too with my friends when the museum was coming down. We were about to be crushed by the rubble, but Alistair turned into his octopus alien and saved everybody. You can say that again. These two saved so many people just today, yet they're being labeled as bad guys or something just because some people are jealous of them. I'm telling you, as someone who's still alive because of them, I'm absolutely furious for how my saviors are being treated. Agreeing with you wholeheartedly. And that's just what happened today. Imagine how many people they've saved since they got those devices. I know for a fact that not many people would do what they're doing with them. Yeah, Ben Tennyson saved me and my son a few days ago from a burning building. They saved me when some armed robbers had taken me and a few other people hostage. I see. These kids are doing good with these devices instead of actually terrorizing people and committing crimes that they can definitely do, but they're just being hated for it. Aliyev has every reason to react like how he did on the show. I would be livid too if instead of thanking me, assholes like that who don't know a single thing just tried to frame me. Seeing the numerous positive comments as Gwen just scrolled lower and lower, they all couldn't resist smiling. Especially Ben, whose sadness had completely disappeared. Smiling, Alistair ruffled Ben's hair. See? Although there are a lot of jealous people, there are a lot of good people who appreciate our deeds as well. So don't let some punks get to you. If you want to hear some farts, just go to the restroom. Ehaha. The others laughed. But suddenly Ben realized something. A look of horror taking over, he looked at Alistair. Wait, if that's how jealous people act, was I being like that too whenever I got jealous of you? The silence was loud, except the awkward coughs the other let out. Poor Ben looked traumatized. Oh God, I'm never going to let myself get jealous ever again. And for the rest of the night, while Alistair worked on another device for Ben instead of himself, Ben kept on reading the comments that kept on increasing. And Gwen, being a good cousin who wouldn't tolerate other people making her cousin sad, lent her laptop kindly. She even sat down with him to read them to make sure he was feeling better. And obviously Alistair wouldn't miss out on recording such a wholesome scene. I wonder if this would work? He brought his attention back from the cousins to what he was working on, which was the device he had taken from Onimo. He no longer had a need for it with how surprisingly he had achieved his goal already, but he wasn't someone who'd forget his friends. Night. Later that day, when he had made sure everybody had fallen asleep in their rooms, Alistair got ready. With a red light, Remix appeared and duplicated himself into 3. Nodding at each other, all of them turned back into humans. So shall we get started? Evil, Ego smirked. And neutral, Null nodded. We stick to the plan. I'll stay here with the others, you two will go and search for the rest of the Podi's Altair pieces spread around the earth. Good, Devotion nodded with a smile. So should we just let the Nemetrix absorb them when we find them, or would that cause issues? And shook his head. That's unlikely. It's not like anything has happened to the ultimate function even though we're separate, so there won't be any issues there either. Each of us will get new abilities, but when we fuse again, the Nemetrix will get them all. And then we'll do just that. E shrugged, before all of their watches interrupted at the same time. Warning, Nemetrix is in cooldown. Further upgrades aren't possible currently. You'll be notified as soon as further upgrades are possible. E sighed, so much for that plan. Alright, shall we go now, D? And D nodded with a bright smile. Yeah, let's go and get even stronger. Guess even if he was Alistair's good side, his drive for power was still the same. Opening the large window of the room, which was on the higher floors of the tall building, the two of them transformed, mant astral. Before taking off. After watching them leave, N closed the window and got back into the awesome bed. Hope they'll be back soon. Chapter 34, CH 33, Interview. Yawn *, good morning. Ben groaned as he entered the living room. Smiling at his best friend when he saw him working on a small device. Hey, Al. Without looking up, he hummed, good morning, Ben. A/N, and once again, yawning proves to be contagious. He was acting weird. Ben immediately noticed it. He frowned. Al, everything all right? Stopping, he looked at the brunette with his usual unimpressed face. Ben, it's me, Null. Ew. Wait, why have you separated yourself again? And where are Ego and Devotion then? Remember the piece of technology that unlocked my ultimate function yesterday? Those two are off to find the remaining pieces. Oh, so that's how it is. You woke up quite early though. Is something the matter? Nah, don't worry about it. Just woke up needing to visit the toilet. What about you? You're not exactly an early bird either. It's nothing. I'm just working on something. What are you making now? Null glanced at him before smirking lightly. It's a surprise. You'll know eventually. Ben pouted but just shrugged. All right, keep your secrets. As he made his way to the restroom, Null stopped him. Oh, by the way, take a bath while you're at it. Ben looked at him in confusion before the Noirette nodded towards the window. Check the streets. Frowning in confusion, Ben looked down the window just to have his eyes widened in shock. What's going on down there? The entrance of the hotel was completely packed with people and news vans. Cameras and news reporters were everywhere, ready to record the news of the century. Most of the people were ordinary civilians waiting outside. Null answered nonchalantly, they found out we're here, so all of them swarmed up to interview us, take pictures of us, etc. So if you want to look good in front of the cameras, I'd recommend you to take a shower and make yourself look good. Without even saying anything, Ben sprinted into the showers with a towel in hand, making him smirk in amusement. They're coming out. They're coming out. On the first floor, somebody announced to everybody who was waiting. Immediately, chattering could be heard as people readied their cameras, watching the numbers on the elevator decrease one by one. Oh my god, oh my god. I'm actually going to meet those heroes myself. Especially Alistair. Ben is a kid, but Alistair is a total hottie. He's jacked and handsome. Is everything ready? The camera, microphone, everything? We're all ready to go, sir. We can't miss this chance. This is the scoop of history. As the elevator gave a final ding, the place suddenly went silent. Everybody quietened down in anticipation. But when the elevator's door opened, cheers and squeals filled the place immediately. Alistair! Alistair, look here. Oh my god, I love you, Alistair. Ben, do you want to play sumo slammer cards together? Ben, turn into forearms. No, turn into heat blast. Mr. Aliyev, Mr. Tennyson, can I please have a moment? Please allow me to interview you for a minute. Damn, this place is packed. Noel hummed, making a few girls faint as he glanced at them. They were acting as if he was Michael Jackson who was about to bust a move at a concert. So how exactly are we going to get to Rust Bucket? Can't we enjoy the attention some more? Ben asked, smiling and waving at the cameras. He hummed again, well, I do want to keep up a good public image. Shrugging to himself, he decided to amuse the masses. Fine, but follow what I do so they won't put us in a tight spot. Stopping fully, he reached out and grabbed a reporter's microphone. Excuse me. The place went quiet at his action. The people waited for him to speak up. But instead, he absorbed the microphone with the tetrix, before making a black and red one to speak into. Please calm down, people. We're willing to wait here for a while, so no need to rush. You can ask your questions in order. Recreating the microphone with Tetrix's new ability, he returned it to the news reporter. Thank you. Before whispering to Max and Gwen, Grandpa Max, Gwen, can you take care of the hotel business and get the car ready so we won't be held here for too long? So no interview for me, huh? Gwen sighed with a pout before Max patted her shoulder comfortingly. It's all right, Gwen. They're the ones the people want to see after all. Don't worry, Al, we'll take care of things quickly. Just don't waste too much time here. And glancing at Ben waving excitedly at the cameras, he tightened his lips. Try to make it so the cane doesn't get too into Ben's head, all right? And can you please keep an eye on him so he wouldn't embarrass himself? Don't worry, Grandpa Max, I'll handle everything. With that, the two sneaked away as Alistair brought Ben along to the resting area on the first floor. Sitting on a comfortable sofa with Ben, they looked at the reporters with notebooks at hands and cameras at standby. He beckoned them to start. Then please start questioning in the order of right to left. Ahem, then I'll start. May I ask what your goal is? Ben grew confused. Goal? Well, I guess we just want to help people, that's all. So you're doing this completely out of the goodness of your heart? What about you, Mr. Aliyev? Noel hummed. As for me, as you may probably know, I've completely lost my memories. I don't even know my own identity, much less my goal. But well, just like Ben, I simply want to help out those I can and save lives in situations where ordinary people would find it hard to do something. Next person, please. What inspired you to help people and to become a hero? Noel, there were few things that came to mind at first when we thought of what to do when we got these things. And honestly, which kid hasn't thought of becoming a hero? Ben, what he said. My turn. Mr. Aliyev, you're the one that came up with the idea of creating a show about what you did, correct? Alistair, yes, that's right. May I ask why you did such a thing? Alistair, There are a few reasons. One was definitely for money. As you know, I came flying from the sky without any memories, family or friends. But Max Tennyson, Ben's grandfather, was kind enough to take care of me and support me. He's also who inspired me to help people who are in need, just like how I needed help. But I didn't want to take advantage of his kindness by mooching off of him, so I needed to find a way to earn money to support myself. In the end, I came up with the idea of creating my own app that connected the internet for entertainment and created my own movie and cartoon, knowing that it would definitely attract attention. Two is because, like everybody, I had the desire to be famous. It wasn't to the point of being obsessed with the idea, but who hasn't had the dream of being known across the world? But three is the second biggest reason for why I did it. I wanted to reveal the wonders of the universe to Earth and the humans. To show everybody what lies beyond the stars. And maybe, just maybe, I'll manage to make my app big enough to let every being in the universe use it for entertainment, learning, etc. Those are the 3 main reasons. Next question please. Mr. Aliyev, Mr. Tennyson, can I ask you something that everybody wonders about? Just how many transformations do you have? I bet the fans have been dying to know that, considering you probably haven't shown them all of them. Ben smiled brightly. Oh, now that's a question I like. I have 10 aliens in total. They're called Heat Blast, Wildmutt, Diamondhead, XLR8, Grey Matter, Forearms, Stinkfly, Ripjaws, Upgrade and Ghost Freak. Alistair, as for me, I have 54 transformations in total as of now. That is if we only consider the noticeable ones and not transformations such as normal bugs, birds, animals and even plants. A collective "whoa" was heard before the next reporter focused when Alistair glanced at her. Ahem, then may I ask what is the favorite transformation of each of you? Ben, it's Forearms all the way. Alistair, That's a hard one. If I have to decide, it's Paracosm between my original aliens and Predator between my predators. After around 10 to 20 minutes of answering questions back and forth, Alistair received a notification from the Tetrix. Sir, Mr. Tennyson and Gwen are waiting for you outside. Taking a deep breath, he slapped his knees and got up. That's our signal to wrap it up, folks. Come on, Benyi. A/N, the classic way of leaving after a visit lol. So soon? Can't we stay for a bit longer? He mumbled as the reporters started asking questions at the same time again. With a red flash, Ultimate Godspeed picked up Ben. Sorry, Ben, but we've cooled enough. Gotta jet now. Ultimate transformations that won't have overdramatic changes on the physical appearance, such as Ultimate Godspeed and Ultimate Menace, have been set as their default transformations. But a few ultimate transformations such as Ultimate Mant Astral that dramatically increase his size still have their normal transformations as their default transformations. And he disappeared from place, before appearing in the rust bucket, with Max immediately accelerating and leaving before the reporters and fans would surround the car. A/N, let me remind you that if a beautiful girl is introduced, it doesn't mean she's a lover. Remember, this is a single female lead story. It doesn't mean that Alistair won't sleep with them since he's single though. I just think that it's unfair, that's all. A beautiful red-headed, red/orange teenager with green eyes, about 5 feet 4 inches with an athletic build, groaned, books in hand as she walked in the hallways of her high school with her best friend. I've saved the world so many times I've lost count of it, and almost nobody has talked about it. But these two suddenly show up and everybody loves them because they can transform or something. But her best friend, a 5 feet 9 inches boy with messy blonde hair, brown eyes and a wiry build, ignored her. Too focused on the FaceTime call he had with another boy who had light brown skin, frizzy black hair and brown eyes while looking to be 10, much younger than them, short and overweight while sitting behind the screen and his computer. They're awesome, man. The blonde boy said enthusiastically, I mean, have you watched the show? Their aliens are so cool. The fat boy nodded, and don't even get me started on Alistair's predators, dude. They're so freaking cool. While the redhead frowned at them, the blonde just continued, couldn't agree more. So which alien is your favorite? Smiling, they both said at the same time, it's got to be either Menace or Forearms/Brain Station or Grey Matter. They went quiet, before glaring at each other. Chapter 35, ch 34, Impossible. Menace? Seriously? You're comparing muscle heads to absolute geniuses. Please. As if you'd know the charm of fighting, nerd. It's those aliens that get the job done when something happens. What are those two aliens going to do in the middle of the fight? Explain a formula. Is that so? Well, tell me who made that amazing device called Tetrix. Have you seen it? I bet he can deal with both of your aliens with just that. While the two kept on bickering, arguing about which alien is the best, the redhead face-bombed, I'm surrounded by idiots. That's right, these three were Kimberly and Akim Possible, Ronald Ron Estoppable and Wade. The three main characters of another childhood show of many, Kim Possible. A/N, poor guy didn't even get a last name despite being so important lol. And the main character, Kim, was feeling grumpy. Jealous even. But that was understandable for a teenager like her who had saved the world so many times but barely got any attention. And with how everybody was talking about the two new heroes of watching their videos, her mood wasn't getting any better. She wasn't undermining the two heroes, slandering them or acting malicious, she was just feeling harmless jealousy towards the attention they were getting. Otherwise even she found them cool. Who wouldn't? They could turn into different aliens and predators, of course she would find them cool too. And after Ron forced her to watch the latest episode, where Alistair aged up, she couldn't bring herself to feel anything stronger than jealousy. And after the fan service bath scene? Huh. Oh, can you two stop it already? She glared. Ron shrugged with a grin, of course we can't. Predator and Savior is the hottest topic in the entire world right now. You're seriously going to tell me you don't find them cool as heck too? Well. She mumbled in guilt. Wade grinned. Kim, we can't help you with your jealousy, you know? She glared with a blush. I'm not jealous. I just feel unappreciated, that's all. KP, nobody says that you're not a hero. You said it yourself, you've saved the world so many times. Ron comforted, it's just that these two are so freaking cool. They've got actual superpowers. A bunch of them. I mean, have you seen what their transformations can do? Wade added, before grinning with Ron, and you just can't help but let them cook. They laughed together, Alistair's catchphrase rolling off their tongues smoothly. Kim facepalmed, opening her locker to reveal a TV where Wade's face appeared. Anyway, did you do what I asked? Wade nodded. Yeah, I tried to gather as much information about them as possible, but it's all in the show. Alistair really did fall from the sky with the Nemetrix and Omnitrix, considering how there's absolutely no information about him prior to when he appeared suddenly, and Ben was just a normal kid before getting the Omnitrix. I did try to keep an eye on them and try to hack his laptop, but well. She raised an eyebrow. What? What happened? He sighed with tight lips. My own computers were hacked back and I was given a very polite warning that if I tried that again, he would send my search history to my mom. Even the ones I've deleted completely. Ron looked horrified. Jesus Christ, that's satanic. Wade nodded. Yeah, I'm sorry, Kim, but I don't have the guts to pull that off. Will Harang got arrested after Alistair revealed absolutely everything about him and his social media. Come on, KP, ease up a bit. Roasted nudged her. Those two have shown to be good guys so many times, so why not give them a chance? You're acting like those jealous people, you know? I know. Fair enough. She rubbed her neck, before shrugging. All right, I'll try to calm down. You're right, it's not good of me as a senior hero to act like this. In the background, Wade's mouth went wide open in shock, eyes sparkling at what he saw on his computer. While he was ignored, Ron smiled wide. See, that's the spirit. So what about you? What's your favorite transformation? She hummed thoughtfully. For me, it's got to be Flightmare. Huge, hard as hell, has amazing firepower and fires amazing shots, and it's fast as heck? It just gets the job done when it's needed. A/N, that's what she said. Oh, definitely. Flightmare is just him. Ron agreed enthusiastically but was interrupted by the excited Wade and a beep from his phone. Ron, you're not going to believe this. Check the link I just sent you. Ron grew curious. Why? What did you send, HAA? But gasped in shock at where the link sent him. No, it wasn't a porn site. It was much better. As he scrolled down, his shock and excitement simply grew. This is. Confused, Kim looked at his phone. What is it? Before her eyes widened as well. Wade said excitedly as he scrolled in his own computer. Alistair just made his own site in Fandom, Predator and Savior Wiki, and put all the information of his show in it. Every alien and predator he has is here, including what we have and haven't seen. This guy just rocks. Here is Menace. Ron said excitedly, and here is Forearms. And so is Discharge. They're all here. Whoa, what is this? Gigantosaur? We haven't seen this one yet. Oh my god, it's awesome. Kim blinked speechlessly. Geez, this guy isn't afraid of people knowing about him at all, huh? Even the abilities of their transformations are here. But Wade frowned. No, not everything. No, not here. It's not here either. Oh, come on. Of all the things you had to keep hidden, why were the Tetrix's abilities and transformations included? Contrary to his depressed mood, Ron was nearly jumping up and down. Who cares about that? Check these out. Oh my god, Ultimate Menace is even better than regular Menace. Ha 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 ha, how is this even possible? Yeah, whatever. Wade mumbled, looking through his computer before his eyes went wide. Kim, check this out. The redhead turned in confusion. What is it now? Alistair just announced that he's going to develop a cure for cancer. He what? What's better for public image and popularity than curing one of the worst diseases ever? Either don't do it or go all out. Ha, just look at him. So hot. So dreamy. I'm in love. And so supportive. Just look at how he treats Ben and the others. It seems like this place is the same as the other places, huh? Kim, now in her cheerleading outfit, mumbled as she entered the Middleton High School's gymnasium to see all the other cheerleaders going through their phones with dreamy looks. Some of them were even laying on their stomachs with their feet in the air, swinging back and forth as they sighed while love-struck, looking through the uploaded pictures of Alistair's adult form. Being the peak of humanity, his appearance and build was no joke. She threw her gym bag to the side, hands on her hips. So are we going to start practicing or what? But her fellow cheerleader, Bonnie Rockwaller, rolled her eyes. Kim, does it look like anybody is in the mood for practice? When there's this total hottie blowing up on the internet? She put her cheek on her palm, looking at the image of Alistair zoomed to his face with dreamy eyes. Ha, just look at him. I've never seen anybody so perfect in real life or on the internet. And that cheeky smirk of his, ha, I would pass out on the spot if I saw it myself. God, what would I give to meet him in person? Although sharing the dream, even though she wouldn't admit it, Kim rolled her eyes too. Bonnie, you got to be real here. How would you meet him? Or what, are you expecting him to come and see you? She snickered, earning a glare before somebody burst through the door, making them jump as they turned to see a panting, but excited as hell Ron. Kim, you're not going to believe this. Alistair Aliyev is here. The Predator himself. A what? The girls said, jumping to their feet in shock before sprinting to the door, knocking away poor Ron to get to the hallway. And once there, they heard the squealing and cheering of the students as Alistair walked with a flower bouquet in hand, smiling and waving at the students. Ego. The cheerleading members' mouths fell open in shock as Bonnie mumbled to Kim, you totally jinxed it. But couldn't find it in herself to ridicule her for her remarks earlier. Just like Kim, too tranced by the hunk who she noticed was walking towards them with confident strides. His gaze seemed to be searching for something among the students before his eyes fell on his target. And the redhead blushed at the smirk and sharp eyes that laid on her, narrowing down slightly as he observed her gulp intensely. As he reached her, she just noticed the difference in height. Being 5 feet 4 inches, 163 centimeters, she had to look up to meet the eyes of the 6 feet 0 inches, 183 centimeters boy. And the fact that she was only half his size in width, easily noticeable by his muscular chest, didn't help calm her blush at all. He smiled slightly, tilting his head and making her face heat up even more. Kim, possible, I assume? She coughed gently, trying to calm herself. Why, yes. Cringing at the pitch of her voice, which she hid with an awkward chuckle. Yes, that's me. Kim possible, ha ha ha. Ha ha ha, easy. He chuckled in amusement, lightly grabbing her hand before bowing to gently plant a kiss on her knuckles. It's a pleasure to finally be able to meet you. You're even more beautiful than I had expected. The girls squealed at the action, taking pictures as Kim's face turned red like a tomato. Pushing her hair behind her ear, she chuckled shyly. Oh, thank you. Why, you're a lot more handsome in person too. He straightened up, flashing a charming smile. I am glad to hear that. Before holding up the flowers he had brought, I'm sorry for coming to see you so abruptly. Please accept these roses as my apology. Why, you really didn't have to. Charmed and red, she gently grabbed the bouquet with a shy smile, even her ears reddening as her delicate fingers rubbed against his rough ones. Of course I had to. He shook his head. It's unbefitting of a gentleman to visit a pretty girl like you without even bringing a small gift. I also wanted to buy some chocolate, but unfortunately couldn't find any good places. I'll make sure to have some tasty ones next time I come though. Huh? And no, this is already too much. You didn't even need to bring the flowers. Nonsense, what kind of a guy hits on a girl without bringing even a little gift? hit on? Kim's brain was about to short-circuit. Ego really wasn't one to sugarcoat when he wanted something. He was a man with a goal today, and he definitely wasn't the part of Alistair to shy away from saying what he wanted. Chapter 36 ch 35 S a Kim possible. First S a pairing, Ego x Kim possible. Warnings: Dom ego, sadistic ego, sub Kim, vaginal fingering, K receiving, vaginal sex, K receiving, rough sex, squirting, K performing, full Nelson sex position, cream pie, no impregnation. That's right, baby girl. Ego smirked, seduction simply spilling from his voice as it dropped an octave. Smirking at the blushing girl, he hugged her slim waist, pulling her against his broad chest. In case you didn't know, I'm Ego, Alistair's bad, no-nonsense side. And I'ma tell you, I have one hell of a thing for redheads. So guess what I thought when I saw one hell of a single gorgeous redhead heroine just going around and saving the world. I thought, damn, that girl really needs a hot date right now. So whatcha say? You free for some fun time while I'm in town? WWL. She stuttered, gulping at the absolutes and filling the eyes she was staring into, unable to break eye contact. It was like she could see what he was planning to do with her. He was simply dicking her down with his eyes alone, and she couldn't help but squeeze her thighs together. Jolts traveling down from where he was holding her. Kim hoped he didn't notice it, but from the way his eyes narrowed and he licked his smirking lips, she knew she was busted. But all it did was make her heat up even more. He gave a low, deep chuckle as he pushed her chin up with a gentle finger. Ah, are you flustered, sweetheart? That's adorable. Staring into her eyes, Ego licked his teeth. Makes me want to be mean and bully you. Somehow, if it was even possible, she blushed even harder. Huh? What? What do you mean? Smirking, he whispered hotly in her red ear, believe me, you'll find out, and you'll love it when you do. Pulling back, he smiled gently at the frozen beauty. So? What do you say about that little date, pretty girl? Kim could swear her brain was fizzling. Searching for the words hurriedly, she smiled shyly with a dry mouth. Yes, sure. So when do you want to go? How about right now? He gently grabbed her free hand and started walking. She looked at him in shock, blushing at the large hand holding hers. Now? You mean now? Paying her no mind, he just dragged her away with an amused chuckle. Aeon. And about less than 30 minutes later, Kim moaned. Naked back flush against Ego's muscular chest as 3 thick and skilled fingers plunged into her wet pussy. With his free hand groping her modest chest, not too big or small, and playing with her hard, pink nipple, he whispered seductively into her ear, good girl, doing so well for me. Are you close again, baby? Go on, come. Come around my fingers. Coming dash it with both physical and verbal stimulation too much. Kim found her eyes rolling back and tongue rolling out as her velvety walls quivered violently around his digits pushing against her G-spot, coming. His fingers didn't stop going in and out. Good girl. Such a good girl. He kissed her cheek and neck gently, opting to prolong her orgasm as she trembled in her post-orgasmic state. Once the pants and gasps from her intense climax calmed down and she whined due to overstimulation, he slowly pulled his fingers out. Ego, being a part of Alistair, had quite an easy time seducing Kim, an inexperienced girl in terms of romance. It didn't take long to get him all hot and bothered at all. Only 15 minutes or so. The other 15 minutes were spent preparing her for what was to come. His riz was too powerful for a plot to appear. And now for the past 15 minutes or so he had trapped the mesmerized heroine in an invisible little house in a quiet place made from tetrix and had been loosening her up for the dicking of her life. As he brought his wet, sticky fingers up for her to look, she whined again, causing him to smirk. Look at how wet you are, baby girl. My fingers are completely coated with your juices and cum. She whined yet again, in both arousal and embarrassment. Chuckling, he brought his fingers to his lips. And as her eyes widened, he licked a finger before sucking the sticky fluids on it, groaning at the taste. Delicious. Ego's predatory gaze unmoving from her, he brought his fingers to her plump lips. Smirking evilly as her lips quivered. Come on, babe. You're the one who made such a mess, so you should clean it yourself too, no? Blushing intensely, Kim followed his orders obediently. Parting her pretty lips to let his fingers in before sucked on them gently. Moaning at the taste of his fingers and her own juices coating them. Licking his lips, he gently kissed her cheek for her obedience. Good girl, so obedient. You're my good girl, aren't you? Panting, licking and sucking on his fingers, she nodded dumbly, eyelids narrowed in lust and lust-blown eyes staring into his crimson orbs, as if asking for further orders. She nodded gently, voice sipping honey. Yes, daddy. Daddy, eh? He raised an amused eyebrow, before smirking lustfully. Sure, I'll be your daddy, my pretty, kinky little bitch. A spank landed on her big ass, causing it to bounce and shake and for her to moan aloud, "Ee-ah-ha. And no, I am not a bitch. Ayo. You're not." He smiled darkly, making her look up with a hand grabbing her jaw. Then I'll be sure to make you into my slutty little bitch. Kim was about to refute to defend her dignity, but something hard and big pressing against her twitching hole shut her up. And you know what I'll use to do that? It rubbed her hole, but ignored it to go between her full thighs. Kim almost fearfully looked down, just to see someone gigantic easily protruding from between her thighs. Even with most of it hidden between her thick thighs, the part unhidden was of a boastful size. And imagining what the full, uncovered size was left her trembling in heat. Truly, he was the peak of humanity with his 13-inch, 33 centimeters, in length and nearly 4 inches in width dick. A/N, fun fact, somebody was actually that big, and the blood flow into basically another limb was so much that it caused lightheadedness for the dude. Ego's smile simply turned more predatory as she gulped, whispering hotly into her ear, so you better be ready for the dicking of your lifetime, Kim. 'Cause I'm not going to stop until you're gaping and leaking. Pulling back, he lined up his erection with her waiting hole, before he slowly began to push forward. Kim's mouth fell open before moans immediately began to leak out. She was getting stretched and she was getting stretched good. Ego, feeling the amazing tightness, sighed in pleasure himself. Fuck, I'm going to enjoy ruining this tight pussy. Holding her in place, he began to push deeper and deeper. Kim threw her head back, resting it on his shoulder as she moaned at the pleasure that would definitely be painful for normal women. But Ego hadn't spent so much time fingering and preparing her for nothing. He started pushing deeper and deeper until he knocked on something that put a pressure on Kim's guts. What? She gasped abruptly and the noirette stopped with a smirk. Wait, Alistair, wait. She pleaded, but he simply pulled back and slammed back in gently, causing her to moan loudly. Ah. Hold on. Please hold on, HAA. But he didn't listen. He simply kept her in place as he picked up the pace with each thrust, causing loud moans to escape her along with tears of pleasure. With every strike to her womb, she screamed out a moan, legs wobbly and ready to fall if not for Ego forcibly holding her up. Holding her slim waist and thrusting his giant erection into her ruthlessly, he smiled lustfully. Sorry, love, but I'm not stopping until I've turned you into a moaning, slobber little fuck doll for me to use. So come on, you better not be giving up on me with just this, because we've got a long way to go before I'm finished. Setting a fast pace, his pelvis slamming against her fat ass as he went in deeper and deeper. He was Alistair's evil side for a reason. He didn't care about his partner. He just wanted to fuck her, and he was already plenty nice with preparing her for so long instead of just ramming into her. When he fully sheathed himself inside of her tight hole, Kim couldn't help but fold over because of the pressure inside of her. The sensation was amazing yet so weird. She wanted to pull away from the fullness, yet couldn't help but beg for more. Her eyes rolled back as her tongue lolled out before Ego, with a particularly harsh thrust into her womb, caused the knot coiling in her core to snap. Aeon! With a loud, animal-like howl of a moan, she squirted with the force of a hose, wetting her already wet legs and the ground below her. Her body shook violently and she grit her teeth from the pleasure so hard they hurt. Her body was thankful to Ego for prolonging her orgasm, but when he didn't stop at all, Kim looked back with teary eyes. Wait. Let me rest. Please let me rest. However, he just smiled. Nope. Causing her pleading eyes to widen. Please, Alistair. I beg of you, okay? Please, I just came, aha. Pushing her womb up as he thrust his member all the way in, he whispered into her ear sadistically, I already told you, my dear slut, I'm not stopping till I'm filling your guts with my cum. What, did you think me being the evil side was a joke? Ha 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 ha, oh baby, I'm going to ruin this pretty little pussy. Wait. She was interrupted by a loud moan breaking out of her throat as he continued. Watching the fleshy ass ripple with every thrust, Ego couldn't help but lick his teeth. Smirking evilly, he covered her mouth to shut her up before speaking. Hey, are you curious how strong just my dick is? 'Cause I am. How about we try something? Her teary eyes looked back in confusion before he raised her off the ground, and there. Before letting go, the height difference causing her to fall on his dick. Her eyes widened before they rolled back as all air was knocked out of her when she was held in the air with his dick holding her up. Ego couldn't help but laugh in amusement. The view of her being because of his dick having such strength was quite funny and amusing. Though he wondered how she felt with her womb being treated so harshly since his dick was completely pushing against it in their current state. Her legs waved around, searching for ground to relieve the pressure on her treasured place while she felt like she was going to pass out. Luckily for her, Ego took mercy on her. All right, I'll stop fooling around. With his forearms going under her legs, he raised them until they came to his shoulder, before he grabbed her head from behind and locked her in place, full Nelson sex position, with a devilish smile. Now let's start the real pounding, eh? And somehow, confusingly enough for Kim, he went even harder than before. The brunette didn't know how long it took or how many times she orgasmed before his movements became erratic. Fuck, I'm close. He groaned, and she didn't know what God to thank. It's not that she didn't feel amazing, just that she felt, too, amazing. She had come so many times and one harder than the other that he had overstimulated the fuck out of her. With all her facial features turning to that of extreme pleasure, she barely hung on to her sanity. If it was anybody else, she was sure they would turn into screaming whores already. With loud clapping sounds, he gave a final thrust before coming deep inside her womb with a loud groan, triggering another wave of squirting and moans from Kim, who trembled in his hold. Ego kept on thrusting, prolonging his orgasm as thick ropes of cum shot one after the other inside of Kim, painting her walls and insides with enough volume to cause her stomach to bloat from where a visible bulge would appear whenever he thrusted from the get-go. Finishing his orgasm, he slowly pulled out, letting his seed overflow from her gaping hole as she stayed in his arms, looking ready to pass out any second now. Thank God, it's finished. He finally came. But Ego suddenly smirked, and when Tetrix created a bed, he threw her on it. Confused, she struggled to look back at him before her eyes widened in horror. He chuckled sadistically. Baby, did you think it was over? There he stood, his long and thick members still as hard as ever, and not a single sweat gracing his beautiful body. Did you think the stamina of the peak of your species would only amount to that much? Grabbing her ankles, he raised them to the air as he sat between her legs with an evil grin. I think you should send your family a message and tell them you won't be home for a day or two, 'cause I'm going to be fucking you till I'm all satisfied. And believe me, that ain't happening so soon. Chapter 37, ch 36, Dr. Draken and Shago ugh, god damn it. Ego groaned, dusting himself off. I know this place is supposed to be dirty, being the catacombs and all, but freaking hell. Slapping his shirt to get the dust off, he looked around. All right, I've had enough fun until now. It's about time I started doing what I'm supposed to do. Inside of the catacombs in Rome, Italy, he made his way through the place. I wonder how Dee's doing though. Probably playing around with some cats or dogs by now. Missing his good side, he hummed before raising his hand. Hey, Nemetrix, contact D. I understood. Before it connected to D's Nemetrix, hey dash, and before Ego could say anything, Devotion's muffled scream came. How can someone be so adorable? Causing E to frown. What the fuck? D? What's going on? Hina. On top of an empty mountain in China, D was busy hugging a blue tiger intensely. So cute. So cute. While the tiger had given up on being freed by the boy who had buried his face in his fur. The blue tiger was a special cryptid from one of Alistair's favorite episodes in the Secret Saturdays series, the cryptid that brought good luck. Specifically, the Maltese tiger could give off a supernatural energy field that could affect the laws of probability. Basically, the tiger was a living good luck charm. Devotion, having come to East Asia to retrieve two of the Podi's Altair pieces, one in Tokyo of Japan and the other in the Great Wall of China, had remembered the blue tiger after finishing his job in China. Alistair had always been an animal lover and had kept quite a few pets in his past world. Mainly cats for how clean they were and how easy it was to take care of them. Their cuteness was obviously a very big reason as well. And just because he was in a new world didn't mean he didn't want a pet. He loved cats and he definitely wanted to keep one again. So he figured instead of a normal cat, why couldn't he just keep the most exotic feline in the world, the tiger that was literally a walking charm and could affect probability? So while Ego was busy having a one-night stand, Devotion was busy acquiring the lucky blue tiger that he fell in love with at first sight, and had been petting and hugging for about an hour or so now. The winner between the two pieces of Alistair was obvious. And the tiger, who had been living with humans in a small village for so many years, was actually pretty friendly. It was hostile when Devotion kidnapped him and made all the villagers forget about him with a device, but gave up and became docile when instead of harming him or chaining him, Devotion started to caress and play with him. He just sat there grumpy at being defeated and let the teenager bury his face in his fur. How can someone be so adorable? A/N and hot at the same time? He screamed into his fur as the tiger huffed, before D heard E's voice from the Nemetrix. D? What's going on? He blinked as he pulled his face away, hair messed up from how long he had his face buried in the beautiful fur. Oh, hey E. What's up? He replied with a smile, happy to hear his missing side's voice. Oh, it's nothing. Just called to check on you. You're so sweet. I'm good, thanks. What about you? How are you doing? You know. Fine as always. I just got into the catacombs in Rome looking for another piece of the Podes Altier. What about you? What was that shout just now? That. Hey. D chuckled in embarrassment. Well, I just finished finding the pieces in Asia myself, but then remembered the blue tiger that brought luck. He heard E's gasp from the other side. You got that blue tiger? Seriously? Yep. Been petting this cutie for the past hour. I did expect you to be playing with some animals, but I didn't expect you to be playing with a tiger. So what are you going to do with it? Obviously, I'm going to bring it with me. I can't leave such an adorable fur ball behind. Speaking in a baby voice, he patted the tiger's head, who seemed to sigh and just take it with his head resting on his arms. But will Grandpa Max allow it? It is a tiger and all after all. Don't worry, we'll convince him somehow. I mean, what is more dangerous? A tiger or two teens that can transform? Fair enough. Alright then, I'll leave you to it. I'll see you after retrieving all the Podes Altier pieces on my side as well. Alright, see you later. I'll play with tigers here for now. Darnamos et darn tigris. Is that what you named him? Yup, that's right. What do you think? Sounds good to me. Can't wait to see the giant fur ball. Anyway, we'll meet up, alright? I have things to do right now. Io Alricht. Take care. Catacombs, Rome, Italy. As the call ended, Ego couldn't help but chuckle at his missing good side's behavior. That guy had taken all the childishness and cheerfulness, and it was so obvious too. Alright, let's get this over with quickly. He smiled, making his way through the catacombs. Can't keep my adorable good side waiting now, can I? Before he stopped with a frown, This is... Catching a scent of something, he sniffed the air. This smell, it's new. And there isn't just a single one. They're not far away either. His kind smile disappeared, before it was replaced with a bloodthirsty one. I guess I've got some toys to play with. Walking into an empty, rocky field, he saw dozens of men wearing red bodysuits with open mouths and sunglasses, while holding electric staves. He smiled brightly. And in the center of the group stood a man and a woman. The man was of average height and built, but with light blue skin and long black hair in a ponytail, wearing a blue double-breasted coat and trousers with black gloves and boots. His appearance basically screamed evil mastermind. But the woman next to him? She was gorgeous. She was a tall, about 5 feet 9 inches, 175 centimeters, beautiful, hourglass-figured woman with black hip-length hair with noticeable light green accents, forest green eyes and arched-styled brows. Her lips, naturally black in color, added quite a bit to her appearance as well. Her clothes, a green and black catsuit, worked amazing in showing off her voluptuous figure. God damn it, just where is that thing? Draken shouted, stomping his foot. How long is it going to take you to find it, you incompetent fools? Shago crossed her arms under her bust, frowning. Boss, if it was so easy to find it, don't you think it would have been found by someone years ago? I don't want excuses, I want results. My magnificent machine won't be complete without that thing to power it up. Asterisk rolling her eyes asterisk yes, your magnificent machine that will put down that Kim Possible once and for all. I've already heard that speech about 10 times or something. Oh, is that so? Then how about finding that thing already? Huff, we're looking for it, all right? It's about time it was found. Also, I really don't think a teenage girl should be your worry right now. There's literally 2 kids who can turn into aliens. That's what you should be worried about. Especially the guy that's after the same dang thing as you. Oh yeah? Well, guess what? It's that teenage girl that has always foiled my plans and won against you. Hey. The only reason why I lose in a fight is because I'm too busy looking after your ass. Huff, whatever. And you don't need to worry about those transforming kids either. Once my machine is complete, no hero or whatnot will be able to stand in my way. Wahahaha. Hello everyone. A cheerful voice suddenly came, shocking them as Ego smiled brightly. How y'all doing? I heard you talking about little old me, so I thought I'd pay you a visit. Predator? Draken did the good old announcement of the hero's arrival as his people got ready for battle. Ego's cheerful disappeared, replaced with a snarly smirk, the one and only. Before frowning, wait, no that's not, technically that's wrong. I'm not the only Alistair at the moment and all. So, technically the one of the 3 would be more fitting. Draken looked confused, before glaring, stop with your nonsense. And you all stop just gawking at him. Get rid of him already. Shago, you follow me. As the 2 took a run for it, probably to go where their temporary lair was, the Nemetrix lit up, altered DNA of existing DNA detected, proceeding to scanning. New evolution of existing Homo sapien DNA unlocked, human mutate. Proceeding to fuse the existing DNAs. A/N, certification, mutate stands for when they only got powers, and mutant is when their appearances have literally changed. In Shago's case, she has only gotten powers, so she falls under the mutate category when scanned. Shago, human mutate. Enhanced strength. Enhanced speed. Enhanced durability. Enhanced stamina. Enhanced agility. Enhanced reflexes. Enhanced equilibrium. Regenerative healing factor. Egokinesis plasmakinesis. Energy/plasma beams. Energy/plasma attacks. Ergokinetic/ionikinetic combat. Energy/plasma blast. Energy/plasma enhancements peak scanned condition. Burning via producing hot plasma. Deionization/ionization. Energetic ionization. Electrical phenomena manipulation. Fire manipulation. Manipulation of the properties of plasma. Move/lift plasma. Plasma flight. Matter surfing using plasma. Lightning manipulation. Neon manipulation. Plasma attacks. Solar attacks. Plasma absorption. Solar energy absorption. Plasma constructs. Solar constructs. Plasma conversion. Solar conversion. Plasma generation. Solar generation. Plasma radiation manipulation. Plasma radiation generation. Plasma solidification. Solar solidification. Plasma walking. Scalar wave manipulation. Electromagnetism manipulation. His smile turning even more demonic somehow at the sensation of new power in his veins, Ego cracked his neck. I'm dying to use these powers, but unfortunately my thing is transformation. Even if I gained omnipotence in my human form, I'm still going to only use my alien and predator forms. Why? 'Cause that's my thing. Looking at the henchmen with their weapons ready, he chuckled mockingly. You've got guts, I'll admit that. But that's just because the hero that's been dealing with you, aka Kim Possible, is too much of a nice hero to actually hurt you. You're always let off with a few punches, and I bet the worst that's happened to you is a broken bone or 2 at most. Well, you ain't so lucky today, fellas. However, his smile turned kind momentarily. A final gift of gentleness as the hologram of menace appeared. Did you pray today? Because I'm going to be praying on your corpses now. A/N, we're cutting this chapter a bit short, about 100 words, because that's an amazing spot to leave the chapter on and let you thirst for the bloodbath ego menace will unleash in the next chapter. I'll clarify a thing or two till we reach 2K words since I don't like it being any less. 1. You need to understand even if Alistair's human body gains a lot of abilities, he will still only use his aliens and predators to get the job done. He said it himself, it's his thing. It's his signature approach to problems. So even if he gains a shit ton of powers in solo leveling, he will still only use his extraterrestrial transformations. 2. Only a few people said this, but why are you assuming the artwork or something of the Eastern and Western series will clash? Bro, there's no artwork. Alistair isn't in a cartoon, the world he's in is a literal world, not some cartoon. The same will apply to when he goes to solo leveling for a short while, the world will be normal. Chapter 38, ch 37, A Beautiful Bloodbath. Ego's hand was on his watch, but stopped just as he was about to push it down. No, actually. His smile turning into the stuff of nightmares again. Since this episode is definitely going to become 18+ for all the gore, I might as well go all out on making it as bloody as possible, right? And who better for that than that side? Turning the watch, he transformed, remix. Snickering sinisterly, he turned into 2, and the henchmen immediately felt something wrong with the second remix. Nodding at each other, the 2 hit the Nemetrix symbol on their chests, illuminating the place with a bright red light before Alistair turned into 2. One was Ego, still the good old calculative evil, neutral evil side of Alistair. As handsome and sexy as ever. But the one that appeared beside him was vastly different. Both in appearance and even had a different air and aura than him. Unlike every separate part of Alistair, this one wasn't a handsome hunk. He wasn't handsome, nor was he muscular. In fact, the henchmen were even confused if he even was a guy or a girl. A/N, yes, he's a feminine guy aka femboy, and the reason will be explained later. And believe me, you will probably like it because of how interesting he'll be and what part of Alistair he is. A/N, alright, you know what time it is. Start stretching time for some glazing. Wait, is it glazing if it's a femboy? I mean, he is a guy, so it would be glazing, right? Then what would my way of detailed writing be for female characters? I don't think it would be simping, since it's just describing physical beauty rather than showing romantic emotions, right? These are the questions that keep me up at night, damn it. Eve evil image A/N, clarification, he's different from E, who is Ego. And you'll see why lol. His hair was substantially different in terms of length to END. Unlike them, who kept their hair short, long enough to reach their noses, with faded sides, his hair, white in color, was long enough to reach the middle of his slender back. His eyes remained crimson, however. His build was vastly different as well. Unlike the muscular build of END, pure muscle with zero fat, beside their large members, his body was slender like a woman's. Short, about 5 feet 5 inches, 165 centimeters, with long legs but thick thighs and wide hips, he had a bakery that would leave women jealous, and a waist thin enough to make people worry if he had any organs or not there. However, although his masculine handsomeness, his charm as the peak of humanity still remained. Because looking at the face that was overwhelmingly beautiful rather than handsome, even Ego felt some kind of way with his narcissistic ass. However, there was something that stopped everybody from admiring his appearance. It was the aura, the invisible air around him. It was wild, bloodthirsty and violent. Everybody in the room felt it. The moment he appeared, the place fell cold and silent. It was like the calm before the storm. Like a rabid animal had just entered the place and was about to be set off like a bomb. Like a very, very destructive and bloodthirsty bomb. Even Ego felt a drop of sweat ran down his cheek as he glanced at his missing piece, before smirking at the anxious henchman. Gentlemen, allow me to introduce Eve to you, my dash. However, he was interrupted by a sinister little giggle. Glancing to his side, he saw Eve's pretty lips stretch into an evil smile. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. The villains readied their weapons, but flinched when Eve's eyes, one wide open but pupils constricted, with the other half-lidded but pupil widening to an unnatural degree, landed on them, filled with nothing but insanity, his beautiful voice coming off as if wheezing and breathless. I'm going to rip you all to shreds with my bare hands. True to his words, he immediately rushed them without waiting for Ego. his enhancements enabling him to reach the first guy quick enough that he wasn't able to react before Eve's hand glowed red, a gift from Shago, and stabbed into his guts. With his entire hand in his intestines, Eve let out a psychotic giggle as the man screamed in pain, "Oh, you can't believe how happy I am about having so many toys." Flexing his fingers, he moved them up inside of the man, his fingers coming out of his neck to grab onto his head before he brought his hand down, shoving the man's head into his chest. Smiling insanely, feeling overwhelming twisted joy as the man's ripped guts and chest bathed him in blood, he put his head foot on the man's chest and shoved him away, still holding the man's head, causing him to be sent sliding towards the horrified henchman as his ripped-off head was pulled out of his mutilated chest. Throwing the torn-off head up and down, toying with it, Eve's bloody face smiling so crazily would haunt their dreams for the rest of their lives. Their very short lives. Face blushing under the blood, turning into a face of pure pleasure, twisted ecstasy filling his heart, he almost moaned as he licked the blood on his lip, something in his pants even twitching. Today might as well be my birthday, because I don't know when else I'd get so many toys to play with. As he stopped throwing the head up and down, the insane look returned again as he squeezed the head, causing it to burst like a balloon filled with blood and brain matter, and break. Oh, come on, this is supposed to be teamwork. Ego sighed, rolling his eyes, I guess I can't expect anything else from the piece with all of my insanity and impulses, huh? With a red light, he transformed. Ultimate Menace. Menace, but with white and red fur, larger and more muscular, along with a total of 3 claws on the back of each hand, a long tail with claws at the end, and with spikes protruding out of the black fur on his back, appeared and roared mightily. A/N image. Let me tell you 5 things. Ultimate Menace's insane side, who's completely ignoring Ultimate Menace to hug all the fun for himself. He roared, stepping towards Eve with such mighty steps that the ground shook, pointing his finger at the beauty. 1. You can't just hug all the fun to yourself. What, you expect Ultimate Menace to just sit around and enjoy everything? 2. Just as he was about to continue, Eve's hands clad in red energy grabbed him by the fur of his neck, bringing him down to stare at him eye to eye, his insane smile and eyes silenced. Ultimate Menace, are you going to let me enjoy this fucking slaughterfest, or do I need to treat you the same as them? I'll let you enjoy it. Ultimate Menace gave in under the pure thirst for violence, his tail falling limp, and that was one hell of an achievement for Eve, causing Eve to let go of him and jump onto another man. And no, stay back, he cried out, attacking with his electric staff. Eve dodged, before grabbing him by the ankle and hammering him down onto another henchman. Aya! They screamed in pain, sounds of bones breaking echoing around as he pulled the man back before bringing him down onto the man on the ground again. And again. And again. Until the sounds of bones breaking stopped, when everything in their bodies had shattered and their bodies had conjoined into one bloody mess. Grabbing the staff that came at him, Eve let go of the dangling leg and set his crazy eyes on the attacker, making him flinch and whimper. Pushing the staff back, he caused it to pierce the attacker and come out of the other side thanks to his enhanced strength, before the man was electrocuted. His danger senses triggering, Eve used the burnt man as a meat shield when the others started shooting lasers, before rushing towards them while holding the man that was getting torn to shreds by the laser shots. Punching him towards the others, he stunned the scared men before leaping at them. Piercing one's chest with his hands, he ripped him in half effortlessly, biting the flying heart that looked so appealing and chewing on it as he stabbed his hand into another man's guts, grabbing his intestines and pulling them out to coil them around the man, choking him with his own guts before punching someone's head off. As the head flew away, it hit Ultimate Menace's head, pulling him out of his shock. Shaking his head in confusion, he immediately grew angry. Listen here, you bastard, Ultimate Menace doesn't get HOED. Before flinching when Eve, all bloody and decorated with organs, twisted his head to let him see his bloody and lunatic smile. Why yeah, he hoes those that mess him and his missing pieces. His face twitched in anger as Eve returned to what he was doing. Ignoring his insane side, he decided to take his anger out on the villains, whichever side that was at this point. Let me tell you 5 things, you sons of bitches who were unlucky enough to be around when Ultimate Menace is angry. His claws ripped someone to shreds before he even finished talking. I will kill you all. True to his words, he turned one unlucky soul after another into bloody fruit salads with each word. One of them shouted in fear, turning tail to run, but had his upper half bitten off by Ultimate Menace, who laughed crazily himself. I want to feel you squirm in my teeth. His tail going through someone else's chest, instantly killing them as he heard Eve's cheerful voice, them catch this. Looking at him, he saw the beauty holding the upper and lower halves of a man he had just ripped in hand, before throwing him at him. Opening his mouth wide, he bit both pieces midair before chewing them and gulping them down in seconds. Fuck, this bastards are useless. Not even their taste is anything good. How are they even hired? Ibwahahaha, what did you expect from a third-rate villain with fourth-rate henchmen? Eve laughed, ripping off someone's jaw, then ripping his heart out and stuffing it into his unhinged mouth before crushing his head. I'm surprised as to how that overgrown smurf even found this place. Isn't that our fault for not hiding or even disguising the Podi's Altier in episode 5? Ultimate Menace smashed several henchmen together, causing them to explode in his hold. Eve laughed as he stomped on someone's head, turning it into mush. How else were we supposed to find ants who don't know their places then? Ha 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 ha, just look at this place. Filled with useless trash running around like headless chickens. Come on, come on. Fight back some more. Ha ha ha. Ultimate Menace laughed with him as he held up a villain, slowly squeezing him and relishing in the sensation of him breaking. He's right. Struggle. Struggle and make this entertaining for us. Haha. Grabbing someone's spine from behind, Eve held him down as he pulled his spine out. Having an actual hard-on at his point from all the screams of agony as he swung the spine with the head still attached like a whip. Hitting someone in the head with such force that he made the man's head explode, before he attacked someone else with his makeshift weapon of horror. Come on, I haven't had enough. Ha 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 ha. Chapter 39, Need Help with Podi's Altier Abilities. Chapter 40, CH 38, Ultimate Gigantosaur the Goat. I think we might have gone a bit overboard here. Looking at the hill of dismembered corpses, Ego tightened his lips. Eve, standing atop of the small hill, wiped the blood on his bloodthirsty smile and threw away the head in his hand. You think so? Yup, definitely went overboard. Ego nodded, but Eve simply threw his hands up in excitement, a bright, innocent smile on his beautiful face as if he hadn't just finished a slaughter fest. Nah, I think this was just perfect. It was so fun. 10 out of 10, we should definitely do it again. Crossing his arms, the Noirette smiled in amusement. Of course you would say that. But oh well, I guess you're the insane side for a reason. Causing Eve to giggle cutely as he came to his side. What gave it away? Your erection when killing them. Even Ego looked weirded out by what he had seen, and that's saying something. Remembering the pleasure when killing them, Eve palmed his crotch, smiling lustfully as he traced his tongue with his nail. I can't help it. Feeling their bones get crushed and their flesh tear in my hands while listening to their screams. The things I would have done to them if I wasn't busy killing them. Both of them were Alistair's evil sides, but the difference between the two was vast. To put it into perspective, devotion was the side that would get things done without letting a single innocent get hurt, neutral good. Null would get things done while trying to not get innocent people harmed but wouldn't go out of his way to ensure they were safe, true neutral. And Ego would perhaps go out of his way to hurt some people and cause havoc while mainly trying to get the job done, neutral evil. But Eve? Unlike Ego, whose priority was getting the job done, Eve's priority was inflicting chaos and suffering while maybe, just maybe, going out of his way to get the job done, chaotic evil. For him, the job was optional, while hurting, killing, chaos and causing sufferings was the priority. It was obvious with how he completely disregarded Draken and Shago to just kill the poor henchman. He was Alistair's insanity for a reason. He was the part of the intact Alistair that said, I'll fuck your mom. He was the side that would come out in online games, curse someone's entire family bloodline. He was the side that Alistair held back from letting out racial slurs. He was the defuck it, what could go wrong aside. He was the one that would actually find cursed tags such as amputation, death and torture actually appealing. And Alistair hated him for it. Ego wouldn't lie, although he disliked not finishing the job immediately since he was the calculative type of villain, he did find Eve's acts amusing. Even if not as messed up as the cutie, he was still Alistair's evil side after all. He didn't want to find out what he would do if he left him alone with all the beautiful art Eve had created though. Alright, let's get this over with. With a hand on Eve's back, he pushed him forward, eliciting a disappointed coo from the beauty. But I wanted to foo dash. Ego quickly interrupted. please don't finish that sentence, alright? I think our poor viewers have had enough already. Stopping momentarily, he let the red energy concentrate on his hand before he shot it at the corpses, vaporizing them all before they continued. Avow! He pouted, before walking himself with a smile. All right, but only because you asked nicely and I love you. Earning a smile, I love you too, Eve. Before Eve's smile turned lecherous as he suddenly grabbed Ego's firm ass, making him flinch. E.O.? Then what do you say we dash? No. Now let's get this over with already. Ego grumbled, pulling away the hand on his ass and dragging the disappointed beauty away. Ah, you're so boring. Rolling his eyes, Ego checked him up and down. So why that appearance anyway? Why so feminine? Ooh, well, the handsome hunk would get boring if there were any more. So I thought I'd make my appearance different too. Do you like it? It looks pleasing to the eyes, that I'll admit. But what do you mean with that first part? It's true. Think about it, there are already 3 extremely handsome guys in our little group. Any more and it would become cliché. Really? Yeah, of course. There's the extremely handsome gentle prince aka Devotion, the extremely handsome haughty CEO aka Null, and the extremely handsome bad boy aka you. I thought that since I'm so wild mentally I'd make my of course. There's the extremely handsome gentle prince aka Devotion, the extremely handsome haughty CEO aka Null, and the extremely handsome bad boy aka you. I thought that since I'm so wild mentally I'd make my appearance interesting too. Asterisk shrugging asterisk fair enough I guess. Asterisk boom. Suddenly the ground shook. Letting go of Eve, they got ready to fight. Though Eve looked a lot more excited, the insane type of excitement. Oh. Are there more toys? Are there? Are there? Please tell me there are. The Noirette cracked his fingers, only one way to find out. Smirking as they both sprinted towards where the sound came from. Entering a giant open space, they saw a giant robot with green energy coursing through it. Draken's excited laughter came from within. Yes, it works. My machine works. And with this device empowering it, there's nothing that can stop my Doomsday device. Are you sure about that? Eve flashed a toothy smile, earning Draken's attention. Who are you? His predatory smile turned friendly for a moment. Oh, right, first time meeting. I'm Eve, Alistair's insane and impulsive side. Nice to meet ya. Shago, I've got a bad feeling about her, Doc. She screams crazy. Eve smiling, yo, I'm actually a guy. Sorry if it's confusing. Shago, wait, what? You're a guy? What? Draken frowning, right, how does that work? You don't look like a guy at all. Eve, well, biology I guess. I mean, I've got a dick and all. Don't know what more proof there is to me being a guy. Draken, yeah, no, that's not, oh, forget it. Who cares about your gender and how many of you are there? I'll just get rid of you all. Ego smirked, again, don't count on that. Let's roll. Turning back into Remix, they fused into one before snickering, and I was worried about when would be the suitable time to let this fella get an appearance. With a bright red light, he transformed. Gigantozoa. The 12 feet, 3.65 meters tall humanoid dinosaur roared, smirking at the robot. Now let's throw hands. Bring it on. As he ran at the robot, missiles and explosives were fired. Shielding himself with his arms, Gigantosaur got close enough for melee. The robot threw a punch, but he dodged to deliver a punch, sending it back before punching it several times. A punch. Punch, damn it. Shago urged inside of the shaking robot, earning a glare. I would if you stopped rushing me. Earning a glare himself, rushing you. We're getting our asses kicked in your so-called Doomsday device. Ugh. She kept herself up by grabbing somewhere. Seeing Gigantosaur delivering hit after hit without Draken being able to fight back, she grit her teeth and pushed him aside. Pull over, I'll take care of this. True to her words, she landed a blow to Gigantosaur's guts immediately, managing to stun him before headbutting him. Groaning as he shook his aching head, the robot grabbed his tail before throwing him away. As the giant got up, rubbing his head, he heard Shago's smug voice. Sorry, but this robot wasn't built just for hand-to-hand combat. The arms of the robot began to glow, the green energy focusing on the arms before beams of green energy were fired at him. Ah shit. He cursed before punching the ground to make it rise. Making a makeshift shield just to block their sight, he quickly leapt aside as the energy vaporized the rock. His eyebrows shot up at the damage. Damn, definitely don't want to get hit by that. As the beams moved to him, the sleek armor shielding him moved to cover his body. Eog! Gigantosaur groaned at the power of the beam empowered by a piece of Podie's Altair, which was powerful enough to send him sliding back more and more. If not for Tetrix covering him, he was sure it would hurt. Ahahaha, how about you block that? Sorry, but I'd rather bring guns to a fight with a monster like you. Shago laughed, controlling the Tetrix to empower its armor mode. Gigantosaur smirked. Guns? I don't need guns. I am the guns. And slammed the Nemetrix symbol on his chest. The red light coursed from the Nemetrix to his entire body, changing wherever it passed to green from brown and enveloping him in dark blue armor, and bringing out one of the goat himself, Ultimate Gigantosaur. His struggling against the beams of energy almost disappeared as he grinned. You wanna have a battle of firearms? Then you've picked the wrong guy to mess with. Tetrix glowed red before the beams were absorbed into it. It would be amusing to think Alistair hadn't built a device to absorb energy and absorb it into the Tetrix. A few moments later, the beams of energy stopped, confusing Shago. What the? Hey Doc, what happened? Aoa. Draken smiled awkwardly. Well, that thing empowering this robot has a lot of energy, but well, the container may or may not be able to harvest and use it all. He. Shago looked at him speechlessly before groaning when she saw Ultimate Gigantosaur's hands turn into organic machines. I fucking hate this job sometimes. Missile after missile was shot out of Ultimate Gigantosaur's changed hands, crashing into the robot that shielded itself and exploding, causing it to be sent back flying, with the front exploding open. Oh yeah. He threw gang signs when his hands turned back. This is why this ultimate alien's the goat. The goat? Before laughing hysterically at himself. Man, I'm so fucking stupid, ha 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 ha. Ha, alright, let's finish what I'm here for. A/N, clarification, when not separated, Eve's insanity is part of ego. But because he's not separate, ego has a lot of restraints on himself. Walking towards the fallen robot with the passed out villains inside, he ripped out the place holding the Podie's Altair piece and transformed back after taking it, and that's just about it. Before dodging when a hand clad in green energy attacked him. You're a feisty one, aren't you? He chuckled as he dodged back and forth, before jumping away from Shago who glared, and you're a lot harder to deal with than I expected. Ego chuckled, correction, impossible to deal with. Hey, can I ask you something real quick? Shago was silent for a moment, but beckoned him to go on with an upward nod. Are you willing to work for me? She grew genuinely surprised, raising an eyebrow. Work for you? M.A.? For you? You do realize that I'm a villain and you're a hero, right? That's not how it works? Why do you even ask? Simple, I see potential in you. And believe me, it's wasted with incompetent bosses like him. Think about it. When has any plan worked out with him? Everything had failed because it either didn't work out right or somebody got in the way. When has he ever succeeded? When has he appreciated your competence? But with me? You've already seen what I can do. For fuck's sake, I just bodied the single Doomsday device he has managed to build after so long of being a villain. If he can be called one, that is. Just think about what you can achieve with an actual boss. Shago, your potential is wasted with these kinds of people. Join me and I'll have you reach heights you wouldn't be able to imagine in your dreams. Raising a hand for her to shake, he smirked. What do you say? I'm pretty sure the salary I'll provide will be a lot more than a jobless fool like him too. Looking at his hand, Shago looked thoughtful. His words were moving in her head. He was right, she would appreciate a boss that actually appreciated her worth instead of nagging at her for his own incompetence. However, she wasn't so easy to persuade. Her eyes moving to his eyes, she smirked as she took on a fighting stance. How about this? I'll consider it if you manage to beat me without transforming. Since you're so sure about me being worthy of an awesome boss, you shouldn't be just a kid that relies solely on some watch, right? Ego stared at her, before chuckling and lowering his hand. True, fair enough. But I gotta warn you, I'm not gonna go easy on you just because you're a woman. Cracking his fingers, he smiled evilly. Believe me, gender equality runs through these hands that are rated E for everyone.